It is 10 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Nashville Soccer Club extended its unbeaten run to 14 games on Saturday with a 1-0 win over Philadelphia Union. Nashville went down to 10 men with the red card to Johnny Perez in the 63rd minute, but snatched all 3 points as Hani Mukhtar won and converted a penalty kick deep into stoppage time. The win moves Nashville up to second in the Eastern Conference and in the MLS standings. The U.S. men's national team fell in the Gold Cup final Sunday in Houston, 2-1 to Mexico. The next competitive match played by the U.S. will be at the World Cup in North America next summer. In NFL news, Cowboys 2-time All-Pro kick returner Cavante Turpin was arrested on Saturday in Texas on charges of possession of marijuana and unlawful carrying of a weapon. And in college football news, Oklahoma Athletic Director Joe Castiglione will retire during the upcoming school year. According to ESPN, he is currently the longest tenured athletic director in the country. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome back from a long, wonderful holiday weekend. Hope you guys out there had an awesome one. Hope you got to celebrate with friends and family, take in the 4th of July and all the fun that comes with it. Lucas, Robert, and me, we're back with you until 1 o'clock today, 615-737-1045. That is, of course, the number for you to jump in and share your thoughts on whatever it is that you would like to talk about today, because we do have a full show. It is incredibly soccer heavy because the best thing going as far as the sports scene in this city is Nashville SC. 14 unbeaten results. They now move to second place in the Eastern Conference in the standings. They are a point behind Cincinnati, where they win over the Philadelphia Union at Geodis Park in an atmosphere that looked absolutely electric, 28,000 strong over there in Berry Hill, having a great time. I know none of us were there. The three of us were not there in person to attend, but it was hard to ignore what a dramatic finish that was. And it seems, Robert, that your goal call, the first goal call that you threw at Dan Lovitz, what was that, on Wednesday was the last time we were on the air? It seems that had a little bit of foreshadowing. Hani, I'm home. He sure is. And he almost had an opportunity earlier in that game. He almost caught his own rebound. It just went off the post. Yeah. It was a really fun game to be able to take in via Apple TV. I know some people were talking about they haven't seen a lot of Nashville SC because of the Apple TV situation. We can talk about that a little later on. It's an interesting conversation generally in sports as Major League Baseball potentially looks to lean into the same thing. Sure. But as far as what that team is right now, Lucas was telling me, you have to go at some point because they're going to lose at some point, and you can try and attribute it to whatever sports curse I think that I have in my life where I go to these games and the team immediately loses. But it doesn't, I don't know. Will they ever lose again? Maybe they don't have to win every game, because that unbeaten streak, of course, has a few draws mixed in, but they're winning most of these games. Yeah, it's 4 straight wins, including 3 straight on the road leading up to that Philadelphia game. Philadelphia, by the way, were at the top of the Supporter Shield standings. Supporter Shield, basically the MLS standings. That's the trophy that goes to the team at the top of the regular season standings before the playoff. Nashville's now 1 point back of that, and that's only because Cincinnati just keeps on winning on the other end. If Cincy had dropped points to Chicago, Nashville would be sitting right at the top of those standings. They just keep rolling. They just keep finding ways to win. They do it a little bit differently, going down to 10 men on Saturday in what was a scoreless game at that point, and then just had to kind of grind it out deep into stoppage time, finding their moment. Hani wins the penalty kick. He's had some issues with penalties this season. He missed a couple earlier in the year. It led to Sam Surridge becoming the primary penalty kick taker, but Sam was off the field. He had gotten subbed out, so Hani's number is called, and just an absolute no-doubter against one of the best goalkeepers in MLS, in Andre Blake of Philadelphia. Just roofs it, a frozen rope into the roof of the net, and that celebration
Man, I had so much FOMO. I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time.
Where were you watching?
I was in Florida. I was in Florida.
Like, did you make everybody around you shut up for the duration of the game? Did you try and fight with a bartender about? What do you mean you don't have Apple TV? And not only do you not have Apple TV, you don't have the MLS package on Apple TV
in Perdido Key,
Don't you
Florida.
know it's 13 unbeaten? Philadelphia's in town. What's wrong with you?
No, I had it on my phone for the second half. Had it up on the TV at the house we were at in the first half. But I was in tune at every moment, and man, what a crowd. I mean, that place just looked like it was rocking. Just the sense of relief when that goal went in, the celebration from B.J. Callahan on the sideline. And, yeah, like you said, get on the train. It is rolling right now. And their next MLS regular season game just happens to be Lionel Messi and friends going down to Miami to face Inter Miami on Saturday. Before that, they will be at Geodis Park Wednesday night for the U.S. Open Cup. So they'll step out of regular season play to play the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal against D.C. We'll try to cement their spot in the semis and then step back into regular season play on Saturday. So these are good times right now. Good times for the boys in gold.
Thank God. We as a city need something sports-wise to cling to, and Nashville SC is providing exactly that. This was the call in the 100th minute, courtesy of Apple TV.
Mukhtar to put to bed the penalty concerns. There's Mukhtar down the middle! And Nashville down to 10! Look to have won it in the 101st minute!
No, honey, I'm home.
I was just going to say, missed opportunity.
We got to listen to the radio call. What are we doing? The game was right here on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, buddy, I found what was on Twitter and I sent it to the group. All right, relax. It's just, yeah, you can hear the games on 104.5 The Zone, but I had to find the first thing that was available to me.
I got you.
Major League Soccer had it at our disposal, so I will.
All right, we'll listen to Will's call.
Okay, do you have it?
Now ready, towards it, right foot, shot, back of the net! Mukhtar at the death for 10-man Nashville! Not even a red card can cool off the red hot boys in gold. Mukhtar, past Blake, Nashville 1, Philadelphia 0.
All right, play it from the start again because I thought I heard a voice crack.
No, that's cruel. He
Play
did a
it
great
again.
job. That was an incredible call.
Play it again.
Yeah, what are you doing?
I just want to make sure.
No,
I'm not nitpicking.
You
I
know
just thought-
exactly what you heard.
Now ready.
My voice would have cracked
right
too.
foot, shot, back of the net.
It's not a voice crack.
How that doesn't happen every time you guys do that. Like that's the most impressive thing about play-by-play when you guys are in the moment like that. Like if I tried to get up there in the middle of being that kind of excited, like there's no way that your voice wouldn't just completely fall apart.
It's bound to happen to me at some point.
This is what would happen to you if you ever made fun of me publicly on this show like that.
Shot.
Also, nobody wants to use Honey, I'm Home. He's been here for like 8 years. No one said, Honey.
I want to say that if I was on the call on Saturday, then I would have done it, but I probably wouldn't have.
He's backseat play-by-playing now.
I wouldn't. I'm saying I would not have done that.
Why not?
I wouldn't have done it. Not for that moment. Another Honey goal, I'll give it to you.
Oh, I'm not good enough now.
Honey,
not good enough.
I'm
not good enough.
Can you imagine if he was on the call of that game and didn't do it? We would crush you.
Yeah, which is why
The audience, not us, the audience would crush you. You said you were writing these down. He wasn't writing them down.
I was just waving the pen around.
So yeah, it was awesome. Great job by Will and the rest of the crew doing it on the radio side of things, Apple TV as well.
You guys didn't want to hear my call?
Go ahead.
Hani. Hani goes down. He's having a breakaway, and he makes a man fall. He shoots. He scores. Hani, I'm home. See that? That would have had some ass to it.
That would have had the people fired
That
up.
would have had some ass to
That
it.
would have had some ass to it. Okay, my real question, the whole reason to bring this up.
Did you like that I put the Beethoven Symphony Number 9 or Ode to Joy in the background of that?
I assumed Ross did it, so I would give all congratulations
Please,
to
Ross
Ross.
is not that competent.
What is this celebration they do? They all go over there and sit down, and it looks like he brings something.
Well, does he not do the salute thing anymore?
Well, he does, but that was actually, that celebration was an homage to Diogo Jota, who passed away over the weekend. 28-year-old Portuguese player forward for Liverpool, who passed away in a car accident with his brother. So really tragic event over the weekend. That's the celebration that he would do. He would sit down and look like he's
Joysticks.
playing FIFA.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So they,
No. Go ahead and say what you were going to say about it before you found out that he was doing it to honor somebody who died
he was
tragically in a car accident.
legitimately asking.
I just
I don't
didn't
think that's
know.
true.
Okay,
Just
well, how does it
asking.
make you feel that you are the third tannest person on this show
That's
after
not
July 4th weekend? Lucas was in Florida.
I'm just the only one that uses the ring light.
soaking up the rays, and then me, I'm back here looking really tan,
You
really
look red.
jacked. I looked.
Go ahead and put yourself on
No,
camera.
there's no
Do
proof.
what you were doing in the prod room before the show. Put your shirt up and show people the handprint on your stomach.
Very red.
For those of you not watching on Zone TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, you're missing out on the show, apparently.
My mom used to call me Robster the Lobster.
We haven't talked about 4th of July activities. You, Robert, was at the lake somewhere in North Carolina?
That's correct. I was at the lake.
Lucas was in Pensacola.
Perdido Key, but yeah, same deal.
You know,
That's a fine.
I feel like people get worked up about that.
Fine. I mean, if I did that,
Why is that a fine?
If-
Like Perdido
if you
Key
said-
is
if-
not some affluent neighborhood. It's
you
just a
said-
little.
If I came in here and said, well, I went to the beach this weekend, and Lucas corrected me by saying, yeah, he was in Panama City, and I said, no, I was in Seagrove. You
poor. Yes, say it.
Go ahead, call him poor.
When you put it that way,
Go ahead.
I see how it came off. It was for the sake of accuracy.
Yeah, you were on a boat all weekend in Perdido Key.
Yeah,
oh,
that's
big,
right.
Big vacation on a boat.
It's good to have friends with beach houses and boats.
Oh,
That's all.
nobody is a bigger boat whore than me. I promise you. I will make friends just so I have the access to a boat, and that's as somebody who can't even swim. I just want to be on the boat.
All I'm going to let you know is, Lucas, I'm not going to call you out for this, but I've got my eye on you.
Is that Roz from Monsters Inc?
Yeah, that was
really good.
Mike Wazowski.
So the long layoff was not enough for us to regain our senses because obviously we were not drunk on the air for the 3 days that we were on the air last week, but we had
Speak for yourself.
You're the one who's supposed to be in charge. If you're intoxicated, God knows why. I mean, it would make a lot more sense as to why the product sucks as badly as it does around here for 3 hours a day, but it's fine. It's fine. So we're happy to be back. We're happy to have you guys back. And as I mentioned, I hope you had a wonderful holiday weekend wherever it was that you were celebrating, be it Pensacola or Perdido Key.
It was a lovely time.
Jerk. 615-737-1045 is the number. We're going to do a little bit of football today, but we're mostly doing football given the situation with Nashville SC. We're going to pay tribute to the best sports team in the city by a mile. But it is list season. We have, 2 weeks until the Titans are back for training camp, and then things will really kick up in earnest. In the meantime, there are many, many lists being produced. One caught my attention, especially given the proximity to the 4th of July weekend and everything Steve McNair adjacent. The 10 best NFL quarterbacks to never win a Super Bowl. We're going to tell you where Fox Sports ranked McNair coming up next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Always a good time to have Toby Keith on your radio, R.I.P.
Especially 4th of July weekend.
It seems as good a time as any to bring back not just the normal songs that you hear around 4th of July, but we were going through the Toby Keith catalog earlier before the show started, and just banger after banger. I don't know. I'm not like a diehard country music person by any stretch of the imagination, but like I feel like Toby Keith has a resounding appeal to no matter what demographic you're talking to, at least as a musician.
He was echoing through the lakes and oceans this past weekend.
No doubt about it. So there are a ranking of the 10 best NFL quarterbacks to never win a Super Bowl, and Steve McNair is on it. We're going to tell you where he's ranked here in just a second. But Robert has, I told Robert there were a handful of things that I did not want to talk about today. One of those things was a 20-minute Cam Ward YouTube production of him, going through off-season workouts at Miami. And I watched the whole thing this morning, and it's fine. Like, it's good fan content for people who are interested in what Cam Ward's doing in the offseason time, but like I don't think it's good radio because he doesn't say anything compelling. It's just him and Xavier Restrepo, and Chig shows up late to a workout, and he's yelling at Chig about showing up late to a workout. Okay, wonderful. But I know a lot of people on the internet were gravitating towards that because I saw Cam Ward trending on Twitter this morning. I was like, about what? Oh, it's just another workout video, which is fine. So I said, no, I don't want to do that on the radio show. The other thing I said I didn't want to do was the Mitch Firkins tattoo that went viral. And
what? I don't know any of this stuff. When did all of these things happen?
I just saw the Cam Ward thing this morning. And then the Mitch Firkins tattoo, you're familiar with the work of Mitch Firkins.
Of course he's familiar with the great one.
If you are not, you probably have seen him at some point, whether you're at Nissan Stadium or you've seen some of the antics, we'll call them, on social media. But he's a Titans super fan, and he famously gets tattoos that, for the most part, I feel like if you went through the catalog of Mitch Firkins Titans tattoos, many of them don't age well. Like he'll get a Super Bowl champion 2020 Titans Super Bowl champion 2021 tattooed on himself before the season starts or something like that. And this most recent one, it's a Cam Ward tattoo. Are you looking it up?
No.
You should, because it's going to be difficult for me to describe it on the internet.
I want you to do it.
Or on radio, but for those of you who text on iPhones, you probably know what emojis are, right? Cam Ward's Zombieland celebration.
Explain emojis, if you would.
They are little emoticons, like little images, like smiley faces. Like there's, if you're trying to send pictures or trying to convey excitement, you can use different ones. There's different kind of facial expressions. There's people, there's places, there's
emoticon,
weather events.
Emoticon.
Can you elaborate on emoticon?
I think that's the literal name of what an emoji is. I think that's just the standard term. Anyway.
Forgot what we were talking about.
Cam Ward tattoo. It is a tattoo in emojis of Cam Ward's famous celebration where he's holding one hand over his nose and he's waving the other hand at you like you smell bad, right? It's the Zombieland celebration, or at least that's what it's called when I looked it up. But it's done in emojis as opposed to like a visual of Cam Ward doing the celebration. It's Cam Ward's name with the emojis worked into Cam Ward.
I see.
They took out the vowels. So instead of an A, there is a smiley face. And instead of an A, there is the hand going like, ooh,
Gotcha.
stink.
Gotcha. The emojis replaced letters.
Yes. It's very creative. And ESPN thought so too. ESPN picked it up. They put it on
ESPN thought it was ridiculous.
So they put it on their social media platforms. They're open to parading a fool around in their own words. So if that's what they want to do.
Parading a fool around is what they said?
Yes. Oh, no, they didn't.
Like in the caption?
That's my words.
Oh, okay.
I'm putting on them. So what I'm saying is we need to stop laughing at this man and start cherishing this man.
I didn't laugh at him. I'm just saying I didn't want to talk about the tattoo today, and you said you wanted to because?
It's imperative that we talk about this because he should be fan of the year. If my calculations and research are correct, Mitch Firkins has never won fan of the year. Is that correct? To our research and analytical department?
I don't know the entire history of the fan of the year. We do know one. In fact, we had one of them on a while ago, Brandon, who went to, I think, the COVID Super Bowl, and then Stephanie is another fan of the year.
What are their nicknames? What are their Titans tattoos?
They don't have the nickname of the great one, the way that, but that's a self-proclaimed nickname. That's like your Big Boss Bird. It doesn't actually mean anything.
But
Nobody
he is
gave
Big
that
Boss
to you.
Bird.
I think it means more if it's self-proclaimed.
He has it. Does Mitch Firkins have a nameplate?
Nope.
He is a nameplate.
But he should.
Do you?
I do have a nameplate.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yes. It says Big Boss Bert. Producer.
It's very official.
Innovator.
Where?
Creator.
You don't even have a desk.
That doesn't matter.
Where
you don't have to have
do you keep it?
It's at my house, on my desk at home.
Okay.
Because he's important, but not important enough to have a desk at work.
Okay, my whole point is this man has been a ride or die for this team for so long. His whole body is littered with tattoos. He decided he was going to take his body and make it a temple for this team, literally a fanatic. I do not think
He is the definition.
I do not think.
And I always appreciate Mitch. He comes up to us at the pregame show when he's at Nissan Stadium. He does the little flex where he's got the Titans logo, like he's holding his arm out, and it's a whole ordeal. He's been doing this for years.
Big hug and a kiss. So I think that Mitch doesn't have to be. Mitch needs to be the Titans fan of the year. And I will hear no disparaging remarks about it, because who else out there has put on for their city, put on for their team as much as Mitch Firkins? Give that man the title that he rightfully owns.
You're going to have all kind of people calling in here, be like, no, I deserve it because I do this.
Yeah, well, we don't know your name, and we don't know that you have tattoos. So all I'm saying is this dude has been trying, and he has been buying ink for his body. Put that man in fan of the year. At least make him a category. At least give him an option to be voted on.
He should get his own award.
Yes, the Mitch Firkins Award. Yes.
The great one.
Yes. That's all I'm saying. We don't have to talk about it
instead
anymore.
Instead of the Heisman pose, it's the Mitch Firkins pose where he's standing there with his forearm out.
So when Mitch hears this, just know that there is one person who has your back, Mitch. And I want you to be fan of the year.
Who said I didn't have his back?
You don't have his back?
I didn't say.
You want him to be fan of the year then?
I wouldn't mind it.
Okay. Buck is on board. Buck also put it in print. Put it in print. Buck is also down with Mitch Firkins being man of the year.
Fan of the year.
Man, fan, I don't care.
All right, so I've got the rules for the fan of the year contest up at the NFL.
Oh, there are rules.
Hell yes. The end of the NFL
felonies or something.
Fan of the year contest is open only to legal residents of the 50 United States and the District of Columbia who are at least 21 years of age at the time of the contest registration.
Check.
Or their nomination. Yeah, at least. Or their nomination. Watch him be like 20.
Rode hard and hung out to dry.
That happens. Or their nomination by another eligible person. League employees or sponsors cannot be submitted as fan of the year, or social media influencers who would receive compensation to promote the contest. All manner, like it's basically who can't be it. There's timing, there's how to enter the contest, but it doesn't give me, there's nothing here that I see that would outright disqualify him, and I wouldn't pretend to know everything about Mitch.
Yes.
Other than he has a number of these tattoos that don't age well. It's not the first time he's ended up on ESPN for it.
Sure.
So isn't that kind of, who does that fall into the purview of? Because it's not like we're picking that. Do fans vote on fellow fan of the year?
Is it like a social media thing?
No, it definitely seems like the Titans just picked their prettiest fans, and Mitch doesn't fit the perfect. This is the guy. He's not Chili Pepper. He's not any of these people that have us persona.
There's a fan vote that accounts for 10%. It's kind of like the Pro Bowl, right, where they divvy it up between players and fans and coaches. Fan vote counts for 10%. Community spirit counts for 30%. Fandom, another 30%, and an inspirational story accounts for 30%.
Okay, so who decides any of those things? So these are all subjective to the Titans people.
During the grand prize winner judging period, the panel of qualified judges, it does not specify who the panel of qualified judges is.
Coach Mack should be on it.
He should. Selected by the sponsor in its sole discretion, will rescore each finalist's entry up to the maximum amount of points allowed as described below. Judging will be based on those following categories that I just read.
Why even have a fan vote? 10% of the vote. It doesn't even equate to a third of fandom, which is an irrelevant category that they've listed just so they can say, we're not picking Mitch. This is stupid. This is terrible.
Well, listen, if you want to lead the charge, by all means.
Mitch, give me a call.
He will. He'll DM you.
My people will get with your
He's
people.
on primetime.
And
We see him on primetime all the time.
all I'm saying is, okay, they're like, oh, he doesn't do enough in the community. Let's set up a Mitch Firkins Walk for the Titans drive. We're going to set all this up, and they're going to have no excuse to say Mitch shouldn't be fan of the year.
Tattoos for Titans.
There it is. We'll get tattoos for a bunch of kids.
That's right. Just come on by.
Bring your kids.
Free tattoos.
Kids get tattoos. Grannies get tattoos. Dogs get tattoos.
We are getting tweets about this.
We should.
Solomon Cena, I believe is the name, says Mitch named his son Titan, who I don't think is born yet. I think they are currently pregnant.
Well, we're counting our chickens before they hatch. He done named his kid Titan. Oh, but that's not a good enough story. Sorry. We're going to go with this woman who has a grocery cart as legs. Like, come on now. Help out Mitch Firkins.
Well, you know what the biggest problem with that tattoo is, right?
Yes, I think we're all aware.
What do you read? Does it read Cam Ward when you look at that tattoo?
No,
just at
it
a glance?
doesn't.
It looks like coward.
Oh, okay. That's
It read like.
I did not put that together.
Lucas, look. Are you looking at the tattoo?
I am.
It looks like the word coward. It doesn't.
You gotta.
No, you don't have to look that hard.
But there's an M. There's not an M in coward. I think you're kind of reaching. I think that's a reach.
I don't think so.
all right.
Like,
We got
yeah,
him in the
if-
chat. We got him in the chat. Tats for Titans. Let's get it on. Get
Tats
it
for
started.
Titans.
Rich
Okay.
Ferris, I know you're listening. The next zone event, we're working with Mitch Firkins. Tats for Titans.
Okay. Speaking of events, is there anything going on in the world that you need to tell people about before we talk about this list?
That's right. SEC Media Days next week in Atlanta, and 104.5 The Zone will be there. 3HL broadcasting live from Media Days, July 14th through 17th. You can hear all the latest SEC news during 4 days of special interviews, conversations that you don't get anywhere else. 3HL always crushes Media Days. And our Media Day coverage is sponsored by Brian's Motorsports and Medical House Calls. For more info and a schedule of interviews, go to 1045thezone.com/events.
That will be a great time. And as Lucas said, 3HL, that's where that and Super Bowl, 3HL are in
Crush
their
it.
element the most. They are excellent at that.
It's always a big tease, though, SEC Media Days.
What do you mean?
It just gets you all ready for football season. You're hearing every coach in the SEC, every player, and you're ready to roll. And then you're like, oh, but we still have a month.
Guys, I got to follow from the great one. Mitch,
I told you.
let me help you.
You're talking to him right now. Go ahead.
Mitch,
State your case.
come to the station. Buck wants to personally take you to Hattie B's for lunch, and we'll game plan this entire thing. We'll go to the any of these locations we can go to around here as soon as the show's over. Meet us at the station, Mitch.
Now listen,
Lunch is on
I
Buck.
enjoy Mitch. You are not roping me into whatever it is that you're going to do here, because the last thing that I want to spend my time doing is a Titans Fan of the Year campaign, respectfully. What we will spend a little bit of time on is this ranking from Fox Sports, which I thought was at least a good conversation piece. Now, anytime you talk about July 4th holiday, Steve McNair comes up, at least locally, because of the tragic passing of him back in 2009. We don't have to relitigate all of the details of the murder-suicide, but I don't know. Nashville 4th of July, there's always a note or a hint of the Steve McNair discussion, because that, of course, is when that tragedy took place. But without making it about the tragic event, Steve was also mentioned in this list by Fox Sports, the best 10 quarterbacks to have never won a Super Bowl. Do you want the entire ranking, or do you want to just guess who's number one?
Well, I think everybody could guess who's number one, right? I mean, that is it's one of those lists where there's really not another candidate. Like, who besides Dan Marino?
It's always Dan Marino.
Even has a case, right? To be number one, the best to never do it, it's easily Dan Marino. And then we can get into the discussion of who should be 2, 3, and so on.
Well, there is a good case for Phillip Rivers, because when you and Marino was so far ahead of his time as far as the passing statistics go, that it is, you give him the benefit of the doubt if you're talking about him and Phillip Rivers, because I mean, how many people would put Dan Marino and Phillip Rivers in the same classification?
Not
as
many.
quarterback? But they should, if you're just looking at what they were able to accomplish statistically as players, how impactful they were during that period of time. But Rivers is always going to be thought of as what, the fourth best, maybe fifth best quarterback of his era because he's playing at the same time where his colleagues or his peers are Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, who's got 2 rings, Brady and Peyton are also hovering around there. I guess Rodgers is technically of this same genre or classification or time period, even though he's a little younger than the rest of them, but not by much. I mean, he's 41.
Marino's the only person on this list that is on several people's Mount Rushmore of all-time great NFL quarterbacks.
For sure. So Dan Marino is number 1 on this list. Warren Moon is 6th on this list. Houston Oilers and by extension Tennessee Titans franchise legend. With the qualifier of Moon was one of the game's most consistent quarterbacks from the late 1980s into the mid-1990s and was a huge, he's still the best quarterback this franchise has ever had.
Yep, Hall of Famer.
Yes. So that is indisputable. He is 2 spots ahead of Steve McNair, who, of course, went to the Super Bowl but lost in the final seconds, in the final minutes, with a completion to our buddy Kevin Dyson, 1 yard short, the whole 9 yards. We don't have to get into the rest of the details there. But with McNair is right around, so he's between Dan Fouts and Carson Palmer.
Yeah, so he's number 8 on this list.
As the best, thank you for listening. He is the best quarterback in the Titans era of football. Warren Moon, also on this list, is the best quarterback in the franchise's history, even though, and we don't have to do this by degrees, but Ryan Tannehill is more statistically accomplished than Steve McNair is over a shorter period of time with the franchise. And then he also broke Steve's consecutive start streak, which is significant, even though McNair played in a much rougher era of football, certainly where the officiating is concerned, versus Tannehill, who was very available for almost the entirety of his time here until the offensive line situation really started to take a nosedive and he was coming up with high ankle sprains all over the place.
Phillip Rivers, number 2 on this list, is interesting.
Doesn't sit right with you? So the top 5 is Marino, Rivers, Matt Ryan, above Jim Kelly, who went to 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So one would think that being in 4 Super Bowls would give you some benefit of the doubt over Matt Ryan, who played in and lost one. Rivers made it to the AFC Championship game, but lost to Tom Brady. I think that was, 2000 and... I can't remember exactly the year.
I'd put Matt Ryan above
2007, maybe.
I'd put Matt Ryan over Jim Kelly, I think. Jim Kelly never won an MVP, if I'm not mistaken.
Matt Ryan did.
Jim Kelly was, they both were a first-team All-Pro only once in their career, but I feel like peak Matt Ryan was leading his team more than peak Jim Kelly. I was an infant the last time the Bills, what was the last year the Bills lost in the Super Bowl? That very last one. 95? Anyway, I would give it to Matt Ryan over Jim Kelly. You also have to adjust for stats in terms of the era that they played in.
Oh, sure.
As well.
It's why Marino gets such a bump there, because he's doing it in a time where people are not throwing the ball like that.
Yeah. So like what you say about Ryan Tannehill having some of those statistical advantages over Steve McNair, you also have to adjust for the style of football of the era Ryan Tannehill played for versus what Steve McNair played in.
Which is why Fran Tarkenton should be the rightful number 2.
You got Tarkenton number 2.
He's 5.
Yes.
According to Fox.
So I looked up the last 5 years that they've done these, and it's funny because Fran Tarkenton gets moved back more and more every single year.
It starts to fade, right?
Well, sure, nobody remembers that.
His first season was 1967?
He led the NFL in passing his first year in the league. He was the first person to pass 4,700 passing yards. He had 342 passing touchdowns, having 100. His record, winning 124 games, losing 109. He went to 3 Super Bowls. Okay, if we're looking at stats, era, and how many Super Bowls they went to, he should at least be behind Jim Kelly at 2.
Also ahead of his time.
Super ahead of his time.
As a dual threat.
So it's tough for me, especially if you go back and look at the quarterbacks that are on these lists aren't changing, right? They've been the same because we haven't had any other quarterbacks that are no longer in the league that haven't won a Super Bowl. So I think they're putting Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan up here because people know their names.
They've got a list of honorable mentions too, where Cam Newton makes an appearance, Boomer Esiason, Randall Cunningham, Vinny Testaverde, all on the honorable mentions list.
615-737-1045. You can jump in on the conversation if you would like. How about Jim in the borough?
Hey, man. Appreciate you taking my call.
Sure.
Since you brought up Fran Tarkington, at least I can bring up Danny White, Cowboys quarterback. After Staubach retired, he took over and he went to 3 NFC championships, was an excellent quarterback, and was also their punter. He is better than Testaverde ever thought about being. It doesn't matter that he didn't get to a Super Bowl, in my opinion. But I like Danny White as a very good quarterback who didn't make it. Thanks.
Appreciate the call. I'm sure there's some level of subjectivity too, depending on who you are, what era of football was like your peak era of football fandom. For us, like generationally, it's probably Matt Ryan, right? Given that he was right there, so close, and he just happens to be on the wrong side of one of the most historic upsets you've ever seen in your life.
If you were making this list today about current quarterbacks, would you value quarterbacks that have been to the Super Bowl, or would you value the best player at that position who has not yet won a Super Bowl?
I would probably, if it was me, I would probably do the best player, the best individual player at that position, because Matt Ryan was on an excellent team and coordinated by an excellent offensive coordinator, Kyle Shanahan, who went on to be an NFL head coach, who's been in the Super Bowl as an NFL head coach. And I mean, Matt Ryan after Kyle Shanahan left fell off a cliff. Mm-hmm. It was appreciable. And it's not to say that Matt Ryan wasn't a good quarterback, a good to above average quarterback for a period of time. I mean, you probably, at any point, where would you have Matt Ryan when he was like in the meat of his career? Probably somewhere between 5 and 10 in any given year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, behind Peyton Manning, right? Behind, like you said, Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you almost have to begin at 5 is the highest you could probably say.
You could also make the argument that he probably, at least his MVP year, at least 1 year of his career, he was the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Which
Phillip Rivers.
I don't think you could ever make that argument that Phillip was the best quarterback in the league.
No, he played in such a golden era of quarterbacking that I don't even think that's Phillip Rivers' fault. But there was just so many great quarterbacks at the time, at also a time where the league was starting to shift away. And the Patriots were versatile; they would run the air out of the football depending on who they were playing in any given week. But Brady could also drop back 50 times and kill you that way, right? So you do this by degrees. But I know we got to go here, but just quickly, who is the next quarterback to be a part of this conversation? Because we are currently in an era where the entirety of the AFC can't get past one dude.
My eyes are on Cincinnati.
I was just going to say Joe Burrow. Like, because of it's as much because of the organization that he plays for, because of him, right? Yes. Now, he could go somewhere else. There's always that possibility. Like, he could go somewhere else. He's still very young in his career and win a Super Bowl elsewhere. And take himself out of the conversation. But the biggest thing holding Joe Burrow back is the organization that he plays for.
Right now, you would agree that target is on Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Those are probably the two best quarterbacks to not reach a Super Bowl yet.
Right, because at least Burrow has been in a Super Bowl, so that gives him a little bit, at least it gives him a better place in the conversation because he's been to one, right? Whereas Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have yet to, they've yet to break break through the AFC Championship game. All right, 615-737-1045 is the number if you would like to participate in that conversation. We are also going to talk about Nashville SC's momentum and one thing that might be slightly holding it back. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. So we're going to do this, Toby Keith, all day. Just keep the 4th of July vibes going.
I feel like I would run out of songs that would be applicable to play on the radio. That would give me a nice enough reprieve that you could talk in between.
I appreciate you catering to me.
But we can put it to the test. My Toby Keith catalog runs long, boy.
Well, his catalog runs long, and your knowledge of his catalog, I'm sure, doesn't quite have the depth of the actual catalog, but that's neither here nor there. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, who has not just hot chicken, but they have salads, Lucas. Salads at Hattie B's.
Cornbread croutons.
That's all you need to
all
know.
people need to hear.
The thirst traps that these people on the Hattie B's social media team post on Instagram of just this it looks like I'm gonna showcase ignorance here, which wouldn't be the first time, but for a certain generation of the audience. What is the famous scene where the woman, it's like, is it a movie, Flashdance, where she's in the chair and somebody dumps a bucket of water on her as she's like...
Dirty Dancing.
Is that Dirty Dancing? I don't think I ever saw Dirty Dancing.
She like pulls the string.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the bucket of water.
Yeah.
I don't know why Flashdance may be something different or something totally unrelated. But
same kind of vein.
That's what I felt like I was watching when I watched them pour the ranch dressing on that salad. Sexual. Anyway, Apple TV and MLS. Nashville SC has 14 unbeaten results. And, outside of the losers that'll respond to you on social media and be like, nobody cares about soccer. Okay, great. I don't care that you don't care. Like, there's people enjoying this thing. Nobody's interested in your lack of interest in this. No.
My favorite thing with those, because we had a lot of this when we were talking about the NBA Finals.
Oh, my God, I was right. It is Flashdance, not Dirty Dancing. Eat it, both of them.
Oh.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I'm just going to dump this. So
never seen Flashdance.
I was totally a shot in the dark.
You're right. It is Flashdance. My favorite thing about those people, because we got a lot of that when we're talking about NBA Finals. Like, basketball, not a real sport. It's my favorite thing.
It's a woke league. Blah,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah,
when people don't like a sport, and so then it is not a real sport.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So there's a few of those, and once you scroll through those, there was one valid complaint, or maybe just grievance, not an outright complaint, but just, something that, hey, I wish I could be a part of this, but they make it a little harder than it otherwise might be, is that MLS, a couple years ago, it's been, 2 or 3 years since they did the Apple TV deal? Whenever Messi went to Inter Miami.
I want to say this is year 3. I want to say this is year 3 of the Apple TV deal. Yeah.
So
MLS, I think it coincides with how long the Zone has been the radio partner.
But there are still games, occasionally MLS games on Fox.
Yeah, there will be, on occasion, there will be games on network television.
So there are those, but they are one-offs as opposed to you can watch Nashville SC. It used to be My TV 30, and that was an easy thing for people to get locally for obvious reasons. Now it's on Apple TV, and it's not just on Apple TV because you have the Apple TV subscription, and then you pay an additional, I think it's like $11 a month for the MLS on Apple TV package, which it's like League Pass or something like that.
Yeah, you get the whole league. Which,
you get the whole
league. They're doing, now that you're across the halfway point, I think Apple TV is doing a 50% off since at this point you get the second half of the year plus playoffs. So you could do it for, cut that in half, about $6 a month.
So that is a legitimate grievance about, hey, I want to enjoy this thing. I want to take the games in. Maybe I can't make it out to Geodis Park. Maybe I'm, in a part of Middle Tennessee that it would not be logistically easy for me to schlep down to Nashville or up to Nashville, wherever you are, and get to a game and do the whole thing. Even though, it's a great time. I would absolutely recommend the environment at Geodis Park. They do a great time, and it's pretty cost-effective relative to the rest of the professional sport. God knows next to the NFL, and Preds games have gotten infinitely more expensive just in my time here, in my 10 years here. And you understand that there's always going to be a price raise when your team has success or when your franchise has success. They go to the Stanley Cup, and since then the product has obviously not been the same, but the prices have gone up.
So the argument here, like you said, from fans that are maybe casual fans or aren't really interested in the sport, but want to ride this wave.
When I read that tweet, I see me because I'm not a diehard soccer person, but I want to be a part of it,
Now, that's the struggle that MLS was kind of up against because MLS was on network TV. It was on ESPN. There were more games happening on Fox. And obviously, there were games that were locally produced. Pretty much every team had their local TV setup. Here it was Tony Husband and Jamie Watson doing games on My TV 30. They have since gone on as part of the Apple TV roster doing games across the league.
We should have Tony on.
We should, or Jamie. Both are fantastic.
Sure.
So MLS was up against this thing where it's like, okay, we can move away from having games on local cable or on network television. And what do we sacrifice? We sacrifice the casual fan, just being able to just flip it on, say, all right, let me check that out.
And this is the time to capitalize on the casual fan.
Yes.
Because people see that and they have the same experience as you on a beach. FOMO.
The thing is, I don't know how much MLS was getting from that casual fan.
Probably not.
As opposed to the payday, number one, that they got from Apple, and the decision to just, okay, let's just focus on our audience. Because the product on Apple TV is miles better than the product before. And because there's obviously more funding, it's just a very professional. They've gotten some of the best soccer broadcasters.
Not an indictment of our friends who are on the broadcast.
No, of course not.
But just
Apple TV is going to have more resources
the level of infrastructure
than your ex-local TV station.
Yeah.
And the studio shows have been excellent. They've been very well done. The talent is extremely good. Like, the presentation of the games has leveled up significantly on Apple TV, and it serves the MLS fan base. If you're a season ticket holder of an MLS team, you automatically get a free subscription to MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. So it's kind of this catch-22 where the product is better, but access is limited versus the product being a little bit watered down and access being wide open, but you weren't really getting those casual fans in spades the way that you would think would be the advantage of having it openly on network TV and local cable. So they made the decision. What was it? I mean, I can't remember the terms of the $1.5 billion deal over 10 years with Apple TV, something the league couldn't pass up in that time. So it's an interesting thing because with the Preds right now, it's kind of the same deal this past season. I know the NHL's on ESPN.
I couldn't watch games.
Yeah, Preds aren't getting on ESPN. They're terrible last season. So you have to get FanDuel TV, right? It's no longer Bally Sports.
Which is crazy.
You got to pay a monthly fee.
I pay for Bally, or what was Bally, and then when it switched over,
you couldn't use your login, like your TV.
It wasn't applicable. It wasn't applicable to FanDuel all of a sudden.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm not going to seek them out because they suck.
Yeah, you can't just put in your
our friends Lindsay and Hal and the rest of them.
You can't just put in your Spectrum or your DirecTV login and get that access. You just got to pay for it. I wonder if Major League Baseball will go a similar route at some point where, you know what, let's just have all the games in one place. Our fans will just pay, and it's all there. They don't have to worry about blackouts because you don't have to worry about any of that with Apple TV. It's all in one place. The product is very good. So it's this catch-22 sort of vicious cycle type of thing.
Well, it's a distinctly MLS problem, though.
Yeah, they're the only league, because we talked about at that time, like, they could be ahead of their time in that regard. Like, some leagues could start to move towards this a little bit, like Major League Baseball, with the situation ending with ESPN and the amount of gripe and complaints they hear from their fans about being a Braves fan that can't watch the Braves in Tennessee when they're playing in St. Louis or whatever it is. It's ridiculous. You can't even wrap your head around it. So that is something that MLS fans don't have to deal with anymore. So it's just that interesting thing. MLS fans are happy with it because it's all in one place. The product is very good. They know where they can find it. They can watch any game plus content about their league and their team from all over in one place that is well done, whereas the casual fan has a bit more of an obstacle to get there. And so it's that sort of cycle. But, hey, you know it's free. Listening to the games right here on 104.5 The Zone.
Mm-hmm. Lewis on YouTube says, that's why I get NFL Sunday ticket, because I'm in Las Vegas. $400 to watch my team lose.
Look, NFL fans across the country deal with this, too.
It's tough.
Titans fans living in, like you said, in Vegas.
Oh, we were getting
deal with the same thing.
We were getting tweets from people in New Mexico yesterday because Hattie B's has found its way into the marketplace in New Mexico, which made me very
I grew
happy.
up in Birmingham as a Titans fan, that if I wanted to watch a Titans game, I had to go to a sports bar.
Yeah.
Or, like, what I would normally do is go to my room and put Mike Keith and Frank Wycheck on my radio and lay in my bed and listen. In Birmingham, it's less than 3 hours away. And I'm listening to the game like it's the 1970s. I mean, it's great, but, like, that's the situation a lot of fans deal with.
You want this or you want to take it?
Yeah, back in my day, I was going up the hill both ways to listen to Titans
transistor radio.
I had to climb to my roof to get the signal.
That's what I'm saying.
The idea of, because
that was a reality for me in 2008.
Back in my day, I'd just go to Sports Surge and use an illegal website before the country banned them all.
No, I did watch a lot of Titans games on illegal websites.
Well, Robert had to tell me about something called meth streams that I was like, you're not putting that on my laptop. You're
they
insane.
got rid of crack streams. You had to go to meth streams.
Anytime Lucas talks about growing up, I just picture that 8th grade spelling bee picture of him. And the idea of that person laying in bed listening to Mike Keith and Frank Wycheck on the radio is just funny to me.
Tighten up.
That needs to be a drop. Coming up next, there are 2 former Vols head coach named to the 25 worst college football hires this century. Can you guess which 2? Find out next.
It's a woke league. When people It is 11:04. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzika. Nashville Soccer Club extended its unbeaten run to 14 straight on Saturday with a 1-0 win over Philadelphia. Nashville went down to 10 men with the red card to Johnny Perez in the 63rd minute, but took all 3 points as Hani Mukhtar won and converted a penalty kick deep into stoppage time, and the win moved Nashville up to second in the Eastern Conference and in the MLS standings. They'll step out of the regular season to play DC United in U.S. Open Cup quarterfinals on Wednesday at Geodis Park before stepping back into league play this coming Saturday at Inter Miami. In NFL news, the Cowboys' 2-time All-Pro kick returner Cavante Turpin was arrested on Saturday in Texas on charges of possession of marijuana and unlawful carrying of a weapon. In college athletics, Oklahoma Athletic Director Joe Castiglione will retire during the upcoming school year, according to ESPN. He is the longest tenure AD in the country. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Tighten up.
Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. We are happy to have you back from the July 4th weekend. Like I said, if you missed the first hour of the show, good to have you with us. We're kicking it until 1 o'clock today. Robert, Lucas, and me. You can jump in if you want to, 615-737-1045. That's the number, FNM Bank Chat, if you choose to live stream the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Speaking of the Titans and Lucas's prepubescent tighten-up screeches while watching, or listening rather, to Frank Wycheck and Mike Keith on the radio, laying in bed, staring at the ceiling, which I assume had fat heads all over it, like the poster fat
Never
heads.
had fat heads. I never had a fat head in my room.
I don't think I ever did. Robert for sure did.
He's had a fat ass in his room, I'll tell you that.
His.
I was a
famous
child.
His famous. Wait, I mean, even then. Yeah. Were you bullied about the state
Bullied. Quite the contrary.
What, admired for
My
it?
best feature.
I don't know. If I saw, you know how, like, when you are growing up as a small child, like some people, their ears will grow before the rest of them, right? Some people will have bigger feet. It's like puppies, right? If a puppy has big paws that seem outsized for the body,
It's going to be a big dog.
going to be a big dog, right? So for Lucas, is he walking around with entirely too much junk in the trunk at age 8 and being mocked for it? Because that's what I have in my head. What's that movie, Robots, where there's the
cartoon?
That robot got a fat ass in that one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Where like
She's like a grandma
it's
robot.
literally like a trunk, right?
Yeah, the cartoon robots, like
Yeah,
with
like it's
yes.
it's not a cartoon, but it's like an anime.
yeah.
I mean,
I think
guess that's the
Robin
same thing.
Williams.
Will Smith, I think, is
There's
in
a
that.
ton of people in it.
Yeah, it was a pretty good movie for one of those like sidebar Pixar
Damn,
things.
Ewan McGregor, Mel Brooks,
Yeah.
Jennifer Coolidge, Amanda Bynes.
It's like Shark Tale.
Halle
Like,
Berry, Stanley Tucci.
Which,
what a
how
cast.
Shark Tale got that cast is crazy. Anyway, I just have this image in my head of Lucas, his tush being the first thing to grow on him before the rest of him did, and him being the subject of playground ridicule.
They called him Baby Tukas. Look at little Baby Tukas.
I can honestly say I've never been ridiculed for it. I've only ever been lauded.
Okay,
So take that for what you will.
I'm happy for you. What has caused Lucas great ridicule in his life is his state of Tennessee football fandom prior to the last couple of years.
That's what I got bullied for. Growing up in Birmingham, Alabama.
for sure.
Was being the one Tennessee fan in the midst of an Auburn and Alabama just incredible run of championships, mostly Alabama, but a little bit of Auburn snuck in there.
So, as we work our way through the summer doldrums of no football, there are lists everywhere. And one such list appeared about 22 hours ago on CBS Sports by John Talty, who ranks the top 25 worst coaching hires this century in the last 100 years of college football.
No, I think by this century, I'm assuming he means the 21st century, so the last 25 years.
Oh, that would make more sense. I was going to say, for Tennessee to have 2 on there in the last 100 years is crazy.
This century is different from the last century.
Fair enough. Words matter. Grammar matters. But still. 25, and for Tennessee to have 2 in the 25 probably makes sense given the last 25 years of Tennessee Volunteers football, which would not include the championship. So who do you have you looked at the list?
I haven't. I've purposely not looked at it.
Okay. Who do you think is ranked as the worst hire between Derek Dooley or your boy, Cornbread Jeremy Pruitt?
That is so. I mean, Pruitt because he left behind.
They're within proximity, pretty close proximity
I would say Pruitt
of one another.
because of the the NCAA stuff he left in his wake.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think he is ranked?
How many is it?
There's
How many?
25. Where do you think Dooley is, and where do you think Pruitt is?
I've given you a hint. They're both top 10.
They're with you. They are both top 10.
Yeah,
correct.
easy. Pruitt.
You feel seen? You feel?
No, this is cathartic. This is good. I'm going to say Pruitt top 5. Is Pruitt in the top 5?
Pruitt is not in the top 5. Do you want the top 5? Because the top 5 is...
Give me the
top 5 is ghastly.
Give me the school of the number... I'm not going to sit here and just name bad hires. Just give me the school of the number 1 worst hire of this century.
So there's a tie for first.
Between what schools?
Alabama and Pitt.
Oh, Mike Price.
Mike Price.
Of Alabama. Oh, who for Pitt?
Michael Haywood.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't have.
He didn't keep with the ACC.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So I'll read the blurb on the 2 tied for 1. Impossible to make a worse hire than having to fire your coach before he ever coaches a game.
That's
both
right.
So that happened to both of these individuals at Alabama and at Pittsburgh.
For
Price
different reasons.
Came from Washington State, bad fit from the start, infamously fired after inappropriate behavior at a charity golf event that involved strippers.
Yep.
And the Haywood situation, he went from Miami of Ohio to Pittsburgh, lasted only a few weeks after he was charged and arrested with felony domestic violence charges.
2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks is crazy.
Goodness.
2.5 weeks is crazy.
Mike Price went on to coach UTEP for almost a decade after that scandal at Alabama.
First impressions, not everything.
Better days when Alabama was making the worst coaching hire of this century in college football.
So those 2 are tied for first. 3 is Ellis Johnson at Southern Miss.
Oh, wow.
4 is Chad
Former
Morris.
Auburn defensive coordinator.
The fact that you know that is disgusting. Chad Morris at Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
Who
Bad
was
hire.
famously terrible.
Bad hire. He interviewed for the Tennessee job.
And then, speaking of failed Notre Dame coaches, Charlie Weiss at Kansas.
At Kansas,
Charlie Weiss at Kansas. Charlie Weiss was not good at Notre Dame, but Charlie Weiss at Kansas was way worse. Way worse. So you have to go to 7 before you hit the first Tennessee coach.
And then it's Pruitt.
And that is indeed Jeremy Pruitt.
So it's Dooley, 9 or 10?
Dooley is 10.
Okay. All right,
Dooley
Derek.
is 10. Look at you. Crazy that Dooley had 10 more wins. I mean, Dooley was there for longer, but he had 10 more wins than Pruitt. Pruitt only is credited with 5 wins because, of course, famously, they wiped some of those out due to the NCAA.
The Dooley thing, it was like, I think I don't think Tennessee fans hold ill will towards Derek Dooley. I don't. I think more Tennessee fans hold ill will towards Butch Jones than Derek Dooley.
Oh, well, that's not even
because
comparable.
With Dooley, it's like, no, it wasn't your fault. It's not your fault. You weren't ready for this. It was a bad hire. It was the definition of a panic hire in that moment when Kiffin left, and you're up against it with signing day right around the corner, and here's this Louisiana Tech coach that the best thing he's done is win 8 games at Louisiana Tech. He's just the son of a legend in Vince Dooley. It was a panic hire that he simply wasn't prepared for. So there's kind of this feeling of, nah, right, Derek, that one's not on you. That one's on us.
So that is so we'll go through the top 10 and we'll work our way up from Dooley at 10 to Ron Turner at FIU.
Oh, no, news to me.
Les Miles at Kansas.
I was wondering where Les Miles, Kansas State.
Ty Willingham at Washington.
Les Miles was that experience. 2 years,
3 and 18.
Yeah, 0 and 9 is last year.
3 and 18, and then of course some scandal around Les Miles.
I'm surprised. I feel like that should be higher
after the fact. Well, I mean, higher than Pruitt, though?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the funniest thing about Pruitt is it's coming off Shiano Sunday, right? And Philip Fulmer has claimed his spot as Tennessee's athletic director. And it was like, okay, a grandpa is back. Like, he is manning the ship. All is well. He's going to go get an actual ball coach, not a used car salesman, And he goes and hires Jeremy Pruitt, who put together an impressive staff in terms of the names that he brought with him. The guys that are coaching in the NFL, like Derek
He was considered
Ansley.
impressive.
Oh, he was the best defense coordinator in the country.
Yes.
He had won championships at multiple spots, coached up the best defenses in the country, considered to be a defensive back guru. And so there was excitement behind the Pruitt hire, right? Like, yeah, he's an Alabama guy, but he's one of us in the sense that he's just a Southern ball coach. So that obviously failed miserably. He was not anywhere close to living up to the task. And I remember very shortly after Jeremy Pruitt got hired, I went back home to Birmingham, and we had a neighbor in the house I grew up in. And this neighbor was a huge diehard Alabama fan, went to Alabama, had a lot of friends that he went to Alabama with. And he had kind of this get-together party thing that me and my parents, everybody went over there, and we're talking, and it was him and this guy that was at his house who worked for, is it Riddell, the company that makes helmets, right? And was pretty high up there in terms of, working with Alabama equipment, and he's played golf with all these Alabama coaches. And I was talking to him about it. He was like, yeah, man, I'm going to tell you. I've hung out with Jeremy. I played some golf with that dude's not ready to be a CEO. That dude is not. And I was like, yeah, you don't know. You act like
really?
you play golf with. Okay, but I wasn't like dismissive of him in the moment. I was like, oh well, we'll see what happens. But inside, I was
In
like,
his head, yeah.
this guy thinks
I'm familiar with that.
Jeremy Pruitt.
I'm familiar with that.
Oh, I'm
You're
sure you
working
know
that
Jeremy
department.
Pruitt, buddy. Sure, he was right.
Does that hurt you to admit after the fact, or
No, it's very easy to admit.
Are you past the pain that Jeremy Pruitt caused you?
I'm past that pain. Oh yeah.
It would be pretty easy at this point in time, given that you have finally found the greener pastures that you chase. Oh, look who decided to show up to work today. Ross just
Hey, Ross.
Ross takes so long to enter a room because his head has to get through the door first, and then the rest of him just falls. It's kind of like the reverse Lucas, where Lucas's tail end is still trailing him long after he's entered a room.
If they had a podcast together, they would be head and ass above the competition. They wouldn't be head and shoulders above.
We'll workshop it.
I feel like you needed to sit. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. The best story in sports locally. It's not even close. Nashville SC, 14 unbeaten results. A huge win in a game they were shorthanded in against the Philadelphia Union on Saturday night. 28,000 strong in attendance. It was a really fun watch back. I didn't get to see it live, but I watched it back on Apple after the fact and obviously saw the highlights going around on social media and the way that Hani Mukhtar able to end it to give them the 1-0 win that helps them pull ahead in points just by one, but that 1 point matters to pull ahead in points over the Union in the MLS standings at this point. 14 unbeaten results across all competitions is a hell of a streak, no matter what you're talking about, even in a sport that includes draws. But it's been 4 straight wins outright for Nashville SC, and it's not possible without Hani Mukhtar. He has scored more goals. MLS put this graphic out the other day. He has scored more goals since 2020 than any other player in MLS.
Which is when he and Nashville came into the league. The number 2 player on that list is Chicho Arango of San Jose, who has 63, so 12 back.
So Lucas brought this up before the show, how comparable Hani Mukhtar is as far as his star power to other teams in the city. You said your initial opinion, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but your initial opinion was what?
Yeah, so Hani Mukhtar, let's just put it this way. Nashville's 2 most marketable names, let's say, I would say, are Hani Mukhtar and Walker Zimmerman. Now, Sam Surridge is the lead scorer in Major League Soccer right now. He is having a phenomenal season, 16 goals, MLS All-Star snub, all of these things. But Zimmerman, for what he is with the national team, he is the highest paid American in Major League Soccer as well, and is this team's captain. So I would put Hani and Walker kind of right up there. Sam Surridge, absolutely, in that, getting into that discussion now. But for what they've done over the last few years, Walker Zimmerman, 2-time MLS Defender of the Year. Anyway, Hani, we know, MVP. Hani and Walker to MLS compared to what the Titans' biggest stars mean to the NFL and what the Preds' biggest stars mean to the NHL.
Preds have a better case, but that's based on resume, not based on current. Forsberg is still a high-level player.
The question is, does Nashville SC have the biggest star power duo relative to their league in the city? Or would you put?
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't even say it's close.
Well, because it's not as it pertains to the Titans, it's not even close, right? I mean, we struggle to have those discussions. Who's the biggest star in the Titans? Jeff.
I mean, it's
right. Is it 2 good games and is it Cam? You know what I mean? So we can kind of put the Titans to the side. A lot we need to find out about them this year. The Preds, Philip Forsberg and Roman Josi are the 2 that you would kind of put up there, right next to Hani Mukhtar and Walker Zimmerman. Forward. Defender/defenseman, right? Roman Josi has won the Norris Trophy, given to the best defenseman in the league. Walker Zimmerman has been 2-time Defender of the Year in Major League Soccer, obviously given to the best in the league. Hani Mukhtar has 1 MVP. Philip Forsberg has not gotten into that echelon as a player, but is no doubt a star player in this league.
At his height, he's one of the best scorers in hockey.
Yes. When he's hot, he is one of the absolute best in hockey. But I think it's an interesting discussion. I would lean Nashville, again, relative to their league, relative to Major League Soccer.
Which is, again, now you brought this up with Fitzy. That would have been Wednesday, right? In the discussion, he had a bit of a diatribe on his Yahoo show with where they were talking about the NFL, and Fitzy had a bit of a rant about Cam Ward being the most overlooked number 1 overall pick at quarterback ever. And there is some logic and reason to understand how one could easily draw that to conclusion, starting with the night that he got drafted. Cam, as a figure in the middle of this, being a number 1 overall pick in the NFL at the most important position, arguably in any sport, any North American sport, quarterback is the most important position in any single position in any sport, given the literal snap-by-snap impact that you can have. You're the only person who touches the ball on every play that's not special teams. them not even being in the discussion with the number 1 overall pick at quarterback is as much a statement about how people view the franchise as I think it's not like an indictment of Cam. I just think it's about the Titans more than it's about Cam, if that makes sense.
That said, if Cam Ward becomes a star, he will be a star. The history has told us it does not matter who you play for
sure.
if you're a star quarterback. So we understand that. Cam Ward has the biggest opportunity to rocket up this list.
Biggest ceiling.
Yeah, exactly.
Biggest ceiling.
As it pertains to Nashville sports teams. But right now, I look at that duo of Walker and Hani and kind of also where they're at in their careers, right? Hani is 30. Walker is in his early 30s, but they're still playing at a very high level. They're still very much in a championship window as opposed to the Preds that you can't say are in a championship window at the moment. But it's an interesting discussion. That duo versus the Preds duo, which duo means more to their respective league? Whereas for Nashville SC, MLS is interesting because a lot of times the biggest names in MLS aren't necessarily the best players in MLS. Luis Suarez of Inter Miami is a bigger name than 98%.
I know who Luis Suarez is.
99% of all MLS players.
For sure.
He is not the best striker in Major League Soccer, but not even close. On his day, he can morph into Luis Suarez of 10 years ago, and he's had a productive season. But you get what I'm saying. Like, MLS is very unique in that way.
He's kind of the most recent iteration of when players used to come to MLS to basically retire.
A little bit, yeah. And Lionel Messi would be that if he wasn't playing at such an insanely high level at his age, in the Club World Cup as well, going up against big-time competition. So Messi obviously is the biggest name in Major League Soccer, bar none. But MLS is just unique in that way. The NHL doesn't have that. The NFL doesn't have that, where you have these big-time star players that will come to America in the latter part of their career, are nowhere near the peak of their powers, and may not even be at that upper echelon of their respective position at that time in Major League Soccer, but are still a bigger, quote-unquote, star name. There's been a lot of those littered throughout the course of MLS history, as opposed to the NHL and the NFL and the NBA, right, where these players are all in their prime. They're the best of the best of the best in the best league in the world.
The most accomplished local professional athlete is Roman Josi?
The most accomplished local professional athlete. He does hold
Norris Trophy winner.
Norris Trophy winner. He multi-time All-Star, a ever-present for the Swiss national team.
Jeff Simmons has been a first or second team All-Pro. He's definitely got an All-Pro nod.
Yeah, holds like 3 franchise records. Roman Josi does.
So, yeah, Roman Josi is the most accomplished local athlete, professional athlete that we've got going right now. And he's, clearly past the height of Roman Josi, but he's still a productive player and working through some health complications here recently, but it sounds like they've got a pretty good handle on those things. Cam Ward has the biggest ceiling of it. But, all right, so let's flesh this out a little further to a Titans hypothetical, because I think the conversation changes around the Titans given the Cam Ward variable here. But before we do that, do you have anything that you need to tell people about?
I need to tell people that one of the biggest nights in Tennessee sports is coming up, and I'm very upset that I can't be there. I'll be out of the country, but these guys will be at the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame Class of 2025 induction banquet, which is presented by the Tennessee Titans. Saturday, July 19th, it's happening at the Omni Nashville downtown. Gridiron greats, hardwood heroes. This year's class is absolutely loaded. Slay, Shea Weber, Andy Kelly, Coach Doug Matthews, Tamika Catchings. You can celebrate the legends that have shaped Tennessee sports history. Tickets and tables are going fast. You can reserve now at tshf.net.
That is going to be a cool night. I am also sorry to be out of town for that. Robert may go. You're going to go and support our friends?
Yeah, I expensed you my ticket.
Invoice in the email.
That's where that came from. There's also a $500 charge to Southwest from yesterday. Who did you fly in, or where did you book a flight to?
Don't you worry about me and mines.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll cross that bridge when we
None
get
of your
to it.
business.
Yeah, that's it. My credit card, none of your business. Anyway, so the Titans variable here, right? Because that is the most popular league in the country between the three of them, where we're talking about MLS, NHL, and the NFL. Not even a conversation, it's the NFL. But the Titans are one of the least, if not currently, the least relevant team in the landscape of football. Cam Ward can change that, of course. Jeff Simmons is the biggest star on the team, which is kind of like this generation's version of Jarrell Casey, where Jarrell Casey was a high level, and Jarrell, I would argue, at the peak of Jarrell Casey, reached higher heights than Jeff. The Pro Bowl or the All-Pro nominations may not necessarily indicate that, but I think Jeff is still waiting, or Jeff still has that ability, but we haven't seen him do it in a little while, given the lack of availability that's been around him, and that's not his fault, but that's just a product of playing football. If Cam Ward hits, then Cam Ward becomes one, but your conversation is about duos. It wouldn't be Cam Ward and Jeff Simmons. If Cam Ward hits, it'll be Cam Ward and Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I mean, now to follow that thread
because Calvin is I would argue that Calvin Ridley is a more recognizable name, not just because of the scandal, but because of the position and also the market that he played in previously.
Yeah, but also because of the position. And, going all the way back to Alabama on those Nick Saban teams when Calvin Ridley was a star. We could also follow along that thread that if Cam Ward and Jeff Simmons have big seasons, because, we're on that trend of forward defender for each team, and that would sort of apply as an offensive and defensive duo for the Titans. That's the best shot they have. Cam Ward / Jeffrey Simmons and how they stack up relative to other NFL stars at that position would still probably fall short of what Nashville SC and the Nashville Predators have relative to their league. Obviously, Nashville SC, the only one of those three teams that's touting any on-field success at the moment. So that also plays into it. What happens over the back half of this Major League Soccer season? Nashville is in the discussion for the Supporter Shield to finish at the top of Major League Soccer at the end of the regular season. So going into the playoffs, what that push looks like, what kind of momentum they have around conference finals. This is a team that feels like it's in an MLS Cup window faster than anybody would have projected. I mean, we're just over exactly a calendar year since B.J. Callahan got hired, and he had a ton of work to do.
Which is crazy that he's been able to flip it on its head this quickly.
Ton of work to do. And he inherited some good players, right? Obviously. Like Hani Mukhtar, Sam Surge, and Walker Zimmerman, sort of the big three on this team, were all in place. And there was a severe ceiling on what they could do last year, a lot in part due to their surroundings, all sorts of different factors. So BJ's come in, he's implemented this style, this aggressiveness. They made some good signings. They're playing young players. They're deep, and they are absolutely in a window, which the Titans and Preds are not. So how would that elevate Hani and Walker and that entire team in terms of what they're next to in sports figures in this city if Nashville were to go on and win MLS Cup?
So just in terms of the accomplishments, and I'm just running this through the Titans prism because that's the team that I know the best and have covered the most closely between these three. Calvin Ridley has been a second-team AP All-Pro once. That was in the COVID season. Jeff has been a second-team All-Pro twice with the AP in 2021 and in 2022. Now, 2022 is also when Jeff dealt with those injuries. So had he not gotten derailed, I can't remember when that Kansas City, what week that Malik Willis Kansas City Sunday Nighter was when Jeff got hurt for the first time and then, had to miss some time and then proceeded to shoot up his ankle the rest of the year because he was in a contract year. And he wanted to be out there, wanted to be available to be able to cash in, and was ultimately able to do that. And I know his team and his teammates respected that from him. So that combination of the two of them, because right now it's Ridley and Jeff as opposed to Cam Ward and Jeff. I don't think that you can put Cam Ward in this discussion yet, even though he plays the most important position out of any of them. He plays the highest profile position out of any of them, and he is probably the highest, could be the highest profile player out of any of them, provided that he hits. He hasn't taken a real NFL snap. He's been in OTAs and minicamp.
So those are their all-pros. Like the MLS version of that is best 11 at the end of the season. Basically, they do a best starting 11. That's essentially first-team all-pro. And then there's a bench of the best 11 that I guess you could say is second team. Hani Mukhtar is a 3-time member of the MLS best 11. Could very well be 4-time this year. Walker Zimmerman has gotten that honor 5 times in his career.
Speaking of the Cam Ward YouTube video I didn't want to talk about, the only relevant thing that I found out of it was him talking about Calvin Ridley. This is after a workout session that they had at the University of Miami's indoor practice facility. So Cam Ward goes through this workout. About the first 15 minutes of the video is Cam Ward working out with Xavier Restrepo, Alec Ayamaner, Chimere Dike, and Chigakonkwo. I think they said Elijah Arroyo, the former Miami tight end, who got drafted where, Robert?
Seattle, I believe. I'd have to double check that.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I would agree with you, but I'm not certain.
Yep, Seattle.
Okay, so good call.
Second round.
So the first 15 minutes of it are him just going through, your average routes on air with wide receivers that he's just trying to build reps with, and some good personality moments from Cam interacting with his teammates. And then there's a second scene of it where he's in the weight room lifting after the workout concludes in the Miami weight room, and he's talking about Calvin Ridley, or he brings up Calvin Ridley unprompted. This is what Cam Ward had to say about his number one wide receiver.
That boy there, different. How he move, everything. Now that I like see what a receiver's supposed to be like that's why I'm glad like Elliott, Chim, Strip, Bryce, all the guys in our room, I'm glad they got him because like I ain't never threw no receiver like him to move like him, can cut like him, and that boy he ain't selfish either. Like he want the rookies, all of us, he want us to do better than him because he gonna end up getting his one-on-ones.
So it's just a brief clip, and it's not new information. Calvin Ridley and Cam Ward clearly have hit it off even before Cam Ward was drafted number one overall by this franchise. I think Calvin Ridley had FaceTimed him at some point in the pre-draft process. They're both they're both familiar with the South Florida area. Cam is from Texas, but Ridley is a South Florida native. So I think Ridley had invited Cam Ward to stay with him while he tried to figure out his living accommodations here in Nashville. I don't know if that's still an ongoing thing or if Cam since found a place. But is Calvin Ridley capable of being a number one wide receiver is a good conversation to have at some point. Like what we legitimately consider to be a number one wide receiver.
I mean, he has to be for this team.
No, for sure. But I'm talking about like outside of he has to be by default here because the rest of them are 2 4th-round picks that are rookies. Van Jefferson, who's replacement level, slightly below average wide receiver. Tyler Lockett at 33, who has been a great player, but is probably not that anymore. He and the rest of them are some amalgamation of UDFA guys, right? It's Bryce Oliver, it's Xavier Restrepo. Calvin Ridley here is obviously the wide receiver one by default, but at some point this offseason, maybe during training camp, we can discuss whether he is capable of breaking through to that, not just by default, but can he truly be a number one wide receiver with legit quarterback play for the first time, basically since he was with Matt Ryan in Atlanta. Are we going to do the wheel?
It's wheel time.
Uh-oh. Robert's not even back there. Ross, are you going to spin the wheel?
He's going to get it.
Going to get it. It's not a real wheel.
Yeah, it is. He's going downstairs to get the wheel.
Okay.
He's getting it from Paul right now, actually.
We'll see if phrasing. We will see if Robert Walsh returns with the wheel, and we'll see what. Oh God. Go to break. We've just gotten through the July 4th holiday weekend, and you probably put a lot of planning into your vacation time if you were somebody who went out of town for the holiday weekend. You want to ensure that your retirement is the ultimate summer vacation, and you can do that by calling Trajan Wealth today because you want to put as much thought into your financial investments, into your wealth management strategy, into your retirement planning as you do anything else in life because that independence is so important. Financial independence is so important. And occurrences like inflation, changing economic policies, new laws, and interest rates can always affect the financial markets. Those are short-term things. It doesn't make sense, however, to keep changing the way that you invest in response to the daily news. Trajan Wealth will help you review your strategy, make sure that it's right for your goals, your level of risk tolerance, and your time horizon. Trajan Wealth is there to help you decide what to do, to be an advisor in this process in every sense of the word And that is a critical thing to have because you just need the peace of mind that comes with financial stability. We've all dealt with it at some point, and it is definitely something that you do not want to let linger. So you can visit them at their 2 locations here in Brentwood or Franklin. The number is easy, 615-270-5000. That's 615-270-5000, or visit them online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement. Is this going to be a weekly thing or just during the summer? Like, how long are you going to bother me with this wheel?
Oh, yeah, just during the summer. We wouldn't do this.
Let's spin the wheel and find out.
A Monday football reaction show? We're going to leave the fate of the wheel up to the wheel?
I think so.
That sounds like a losing proposition. That's right, the wheel, the mighty wheel. Ron Slay's favorite segment on this show.
Hopefully he's listening. Hopefully you're recovering quickly, buddy.
Is he still laid up?
I don't know.
All right, well done. Not a good job by any of us in checking in on our dear friend and colleague Ron Slay after knee surgery.
Hey,
Nobody knows how he is. Nobody's checked on him. Nobody's asked about
I
him.
sent him a happy birthday
Yep,
text.
same. I texted him and I said, he told me how he was doing initially, and I was like, oh, how's the recovery going? He didn't respond, and then he texted me yesterday. He was like, is Ardarius Washington a good player? So I assume he's doing fine.
Talking ball.
All right, very good. Is the wheel copyrighted for YouTube?
It is not.
Okay, well,
I assume not. We haven't got any copyright strikes yet.
they were.
They get the wheel.
They don't get the music. They want to hear the song. The song is "Wheel in the Sky" by the Eagles. They don't get that.
Journey.
Well, they
Journey,
somebody
Eagles, same thing.
pointed out.
No,
Perhaps,
don't do that.
Perhaps the setting is not up for people to hear the actual wheel on YouTube because we played it earlier and they didn't seem to be able to hear it.
Well, Ross didn't have it in 3.
Well, Ross is bad at his job. Spin it.
Come on.
Should I know what's on it before, or should
Start
we
with
just
the
spin the damn
dogs.
thing?
No way. I've got it situated back here.
What do we got?
Oh, Lucas is going to have to help us with this. A sloppy U.S. men's national team performance against Mexico.
Sloppy. I did not write that in. You wrote that in?
I wrote that in the wheel, yes.
Oh, you wrote sloppy USMNT.
Yes. I thought it meant Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
You didn't get a chance to catch this game, the Gold Cup final?
I didn't realize it was happening until I started to see tweets after the fact. We were doing primetime last night. I was a little caught up.
I saw they were up.
They were up, scored early. Chris Richards on a header in the 4th minute. Always tough to lose to Mexico in a final, 2-1. Yes, as we've talked about, this USA team is nothing like the one that we will see next year when actual USA stars and senior players come back into the fold after all the ridiculous drama of this year.
Certainly hope not.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I will say it was a good effort for them in the Gold Cup this year. A lot of players that won't be on the World Cup team next year that got this team to the final and faced pretty much a full-strength Mexico team. Like that team that USA saw was pretty much the Mexico starting 11 that will play in the World Cup next year. Whereas for the U.S., it was really more of a B team than anything. So there was some encouraging stuff there, and it was a good game, a competitive game, just some moments where Mexico was just better, straight up. So they've done a nice job to kind of turn the momentum around a little bit. The next competitive match that they play will be the opener for the FIFA World Cup next summer. So
In the States,
in North America, Canada, U.S., and Mexico.
Okay, right.
So with Pulisic and Tim Weah and Weston McKennie and all these guys coming back into the fold, all right, can they step back into this culture that's been kind of elevated and is more competitive now and raise the ceiling of this team? Because it was a spirited effort this summer by this version of the U.S. Now they got to do it with their big names, and we'll see how that works next summer. But, yeah, still always tough to lose to Mexico in a final.
Dustin Gill on YouTube says that the U.S. men's national team was robbed. Was there a controversial
There was a
call?
controversial no call on what maybe should have been a handball that would have given the U.S. a penalty.
Oh, I think I saw that on Instagram.
Late in the
after fact,
game, yeah. And Mauricio Pochettino, the USA coach, took issue with it in the post-game press conference. I will say just the fact that they were competitive. Like that was a Mexico team that I thought had the capability to run that U.S. team off the field. They scored early. It was a nip and tuck, cagey game, as it always is when you play Mexico or really any other team in CONCACAF.
Cagey, nip and tuck.
In the end, Mexico just overall the better team.
Okay.
Ooh, is it going to be my favorite? Yeah, Joey Chestnut, who this weekend ate 70 dogs. This is not the first time he's done this. He set the record.
Which was under if you were betting him offshore on
Was it really?
Under total.
I thought he hit. As long as you had 70.5.
I saw 71.
It was 70 what I had. So he ate half a dog to hit it, reaching into the round. So glad that he hit it on my book, at least. If you lost money on him, why are you betting on things like this? You degenerate.
Fitzy gave me all kind of betting advice on that. He used to be the sideline reporter for the hot dog eating contest on ESPN. He gave me all manner of great advice, and then I bet over under 71.5, and he was under.
Why this is impressive? Do you guys know why this is impressive, him eating 70 dogs? Because he didn't set a record.
Well, it's because of how badly he beat the next closest guy, who was the person who won it last year in Joey Chestnut's absence.
Sonia. No, it wasn't. It was, I can't remember who the hell. Matt Stoney? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Either way, So why it is impressive to me is because, irregardless of whether he competed last year because of the contract dispute, what have you, in 23, he ate 62 dogs to win. 22, he ate 63 dogs to win. 21 is when he set the record with 76. So coming off the bench, a year where he wasn't being asked to carry the dog 30 times a game, he came back and hit his 70 mark threshold for the first time since 2021.
Incredible.
So he is not losing form, which was what a lot of competitive eaters were assuming.
Oh, no, he came out to prove a point this year, baby.
I think there needs to be a handicap on him. He should not be allowed to use water to dunk his dogs to soften the buns. Because if he's blowing these people out by 20, let's make a spectacle of it. Are you guys familiar with King Kong Bundy?
No.
King Kong Bundy was
a wrestler?
Yes, a wrestler.
How about me?
Very large man. Wrestled Hulk Hogan in it was either first WrestleMania or second WrestleMania in a steel cage. I think it was the second WrestleMania, actually, because the first one was, I digress. King Kong Bundy was so big and so large that he was not going to subject people that he wrestled to a 3 count because he's so big. When King Kong Bundy wrestled people, he would pin people for a 5-second count. Because he was that impressive. He was that much better than everyone, all of his other peers. We need to establish the 5-second count for Joey Chestnut. Whatever that is for him, whether it's he only gets to use one hand, he can't be double gripping glizzies and dipping them in with one hand and eating them in the other. There needs to be some kind of handicap.
He beat the next closest person by more than 20. It's just insane. He's an absolute machine. It's disgusting, but he's a machine. The noises that Fitzy was describing.
Yeah. Do we have?
Not handy. I can find it.
So he only ate half a dog at the end.
Well, not only time expires.
Okay.
like this,
and he
the
was
time
halfway through it.
Yes.
I gotcha.
Which I also think is stupid. It shouldn't be like a sack situation. Like,
Half
you
a
get
sack.
half a sack. No, you either eat the whole dog and it counts, or you don't be giving people halves.
There should be stoppage time.
How many dogs do you guys think? I have this answer. How many dogs do you think he's eaten in his entire career?
Oh,
His
my
entire-
goodness. Hundreds and hundreds.
How many years has he done it?
He has been competing at the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest since 2005. He got
Oh, my
third place that
God.
year, eating 32 dogs.
Yeah, just give us the number.
1,284 and a half dogs.
How much can you, would you be able to look up how many hot dogs the average American eats in their lifetime? I bet that's available somewhere, probably by some, health association that is telling you the harms of how many years off your life you get by eating one hot dog, one single solitary hot dog.
1,200 dogs and one protester beat up.
Americans eat an average of 70 hot dogs per year. This translates to roughly 20 billion hot dogs consumed annually in the United States.
Man.
I eat a lot of dogs.
You eat 70 hot dogs a year?
I mean, that's
The
300.
average American eating 70 hot dogs a year is crazy.
Well, the problem is, anytime you go to someone's cookout, you, nor I, nor Lucas have ever eaten a dog. You don't go to someone's house and eat a
You're
dog.
right. I don't eat hot dogs.
That is a hot dog.
Shut up.
I don't eat hot dogs.
You had a hot dog before. You've never
before, for sure.
You've never
but not
perused
not
through
since
Printer's Alley.
Yeah,
and
when I was fat.
come get a daddy dog. You've never got a daddy dog
The
out
last
there.
time I had a daddy's dog was probably pre-COVID.
Just depriving yourself of joy.
I just don't like hot dogs.
Joey Chestnut, super
I like
impressive.
between brats and hot dogs, way bigger. It's not about what a hot dog is made of, because I'm sure brats aren't much better, but brats taste way better than hot dogs.
I love
I
a good
assume
hot dog.
I would count them all in the same category.
Okay,
Dog of buns.
I grilled brats
70
this
in a
weekend.
year is a hot dog about every 5 days.
Yeah, I think we should do that. I think we should commit over the next year to make sure
70
we
hot-
all eat 70 hot dogs. We got to keep that average up.
No,
All right,
I'm not
we got
gonna-
to spin the wheel quick
All
to
right,
get this last one in.
One more time.
All right, who's it going to be? I put an extra topic on here, so whatever we don't get to, we'll roll over to the next time we do the wheel. And it's still going to be the one I don't want to talk about. Lake versus beach. What do you guys think? Because I think the answer is clear and obvious.
You went to the lake this weekend. Lucas was at the beach. Debate the merits.
Okay, you go first, Lucas.
Seafood puts it over the top for me, beach.
And your sand burn.
What is that? What does that sound?
It's not
Is that
me.
coming
It's
from
this,
you?
Yeah, it's this thing. Whatever's happening
Your
with this.
computer is
Oh,
making
you got to
this
read
sound?
it.
No,
Read
it's-
it. Read it.
Are you making that sound?
Yes.
Oh, it's a call screener.
All right, seafood puts it
Why
over
is
the top.
that-
for you.
Seafood puts it over the top for me.
Okay, so irrelevantly, I will say that lakes can also have seafood. At least in North Carolina, where it's not a landlocked state, not like Tennessee, where any of your seafood here has been shipped and boxed and frozen and eaten and then regurgitated and then served.
It's frozen
baby.
again.
So when I go to the beach, when I go to the lake, I'm going to get seafood there as well. So seafood does nothing for me there. The best part about the lake is there's no sand. You don't have to deal with sand being taken with you everywhere.
Yeah, but
in
mud
your
versus sand.
mud, there's water hoses. Mud is much
There's
easily.
water hoses at the beach.
In fact, there are more conveniently located water hoses at the beach than there are at the lake.
And you feel like those showers next to the beach accurately get the sand off of
Yeah.
you? Or in walking, you keep it quiet over there, beach boy. Or in walking from that shower to your apartment, you are going to attract more sand to your body again because you're wet and it's stuck to you. There's no way to get rid of sand at the beach. Lake is far superior.
You didn't do a good job of dismissing my seafood thing. Just because some lakes in North Carolina, you can get good seafood because the coast isn't that far.
There are lakes that have salt in them. I can get
sure.
fine seafood from. If that's your best part of the beach,
That's the best part.
Okay, what about people who have shellfish allergies? I don't love the beach then.
Well,
Dumb.
those people are inferior.
Then they can have some trout or a grouper. I don't know.
That's nature weeding out the weak.
All I'm saying is the beach. We gotta go to the beach. We gotta go to the beach. Well, depending on whether you can ride your boats or your motorcrafts in the water, totally depends on the wake going on the beach. You know what doesn't happen at the lake? Wake. You don't have to worry about. The water's much too choppy to ride this
Doesn't
today.
matter. Wake.
No wake on the lakes. There are lakes with wake.
Sure, but it's not going to be like, there are
Yeah, it's because some
undertows.
bleephole took his speedboat through there
Sure,
way too
that's
fast.
not a wake.
You know
That's
how
not
many
a
shipwrecks
wave.
have happened in Lake Erie?
Oh, shut up. That's one of the biggest lakes in the world.
It feels like you lost.
What kind of... I won't never lose. I'll tell you that. I'll send us right to break.
On a break.
It is 12:02. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Nashville Soccer Club extended its unbeaten run to 14 games Saturday with a 1-0 win over Philadelphia. Nashville went down to 10 men with a red card to Johnny Perez in the 63rd minute, but took all 3 points as Hani Mukhtar won and converted a penalty kick deep into stoppage time for the win, which moves Nashville up to second in the Eastern Conference and in the MLS standings. In NFL news, Cowboys two-time All-Pro kick returner Kevontae Turpin was arrested in Texas on Saturday on charges of possession of marijuana and unlawful carrying of a weapon. In college athletics, Oklahoma Athletic Director Joe Castiglione will retire during the upcoming school year. That's according to ESPN. He is the longest tenured athletic director in the country. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
We need a winner in this city like we need oxygen, and Nashville SC is providing just that. Welcome back to the show. The final hour is upon us. Lucas, Robert, me, till 1 o'clock with you. Welcome back from the holiday weekend. If you are back from the holiday weekend, maybe some of you took a little extra time to ease back into things on a Monday. Which holiday weekend is the most difficult to recover from? Is this something that I was pondering this weekend as I lay in a pile of myself yesterday for a vast majority of the day, recovering from, really it was the only day that I got to do anything, was Saturday from July 4th weekend. But Memorial Day, July 4th, Thanksgiving is always a tough one to come back from, too, it feels like. Now, it doesn't really bother us, maybe because it's football season and we're working football season anyway more often. Titans have had practice. It's not an every year thing, but they have had practice like on the day of Thanksgiving, morning of. So I don't really think of it that way. But I know a lot of people, when you're coming back from all the food and all the time off and maybe a booze around the Thanksgiving holiday, I feel like Thanksgiving is more difficult to come back to work from than maybe Christmas.
I'm going to go with one that's not even an official holiday, and that's Super Bowl weekend. I think the Monday after Super Bowl is always tougher than all of those because it's a Sunday night. You are just, if you're like me, absolutely, I mean, everything at the Super Bowl party has to be eaten when you're at a Super Bowl party. And so the Monday morning after the Super Bowl is one of my worst feeling days of the year because I've had like 12 hot wings and a pulled pork sandwich and some baked beans and chips and dip. And
I will say that, well, I've only gone to Super Bowl twice, like Super Bowl week. That I don't know how 3HL does that every year. That's a dead sprint, especially in a city like New Orleans, like that. And with Slay and Brent and Dawn, those are three of the most problematic people that you could go out in a week like Super Bowl with. So that's a different level of recovery.
I would like to throw St. Patrick's Day out there because five times out of 7 years it's going to be during the week. Maybe 4 out of 7 if you want to include Friday being a good St. Patty's Day. But if you have St. Patty's Day on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you are going to struggle.
St. Patrick's Day.
At work the next day. Well, it's for my people. You know what I mean? I have to get drunk for all of our Irish icons. Conor McGregor, the dude that beat the snakes out with a drum.
St. Patrick?
Yes, that guy.
Oh my goodness. It's July 4th is up there. I just feel like summer holiday events, when you're out in the sun, you're out at the beach, you're probably participating in booze or whatever your weapon of choice is at that particular moment in that endeavor. I feel like that's a harder time to bounce back from. But my point is Nashville SC may soothe whatever sports hangover this city has because they've got 14 unbeaten results right now. And the state of Nashville, professional sports at least, has been tough. I mean, that's the most diplomatic, kind way that I could put it. The Titans have been terrible for basically 3 years, 2021 being their last meaningful season. I know they started, 7-4 in 2022 before the bottom fell out. And so maybe we should do like November of 2022. The last time the Titans really mattered in a consequential way. Predators, man, just down bad. down bad. Both of them experiencing different levels of bottoming out in their respective sports this most recent season. And so we need a winner, right? The city needs a winner. The unbeaten streak right now that Nashville SC is riding, and I understand that MLS is not the level of popularity of even the NHL and certainly not the NFL, which is a popular rebuttal from people who have not yet gravitated towards the fun that everybody's having in attendance at these soccer games. The best local sports moment this year, well, I guess it wouldn't be this year because it's 2025, but the best local sports moment within the last 12 months has been Vandy upsetting Alabama.
Yeah.
That's it. But the reason why I think Nashville SC's unbeaten streak is more important than Vandy upsetting Alabama is because Nashville SC is an actual title contender.
Yeah,
Vanderbilt was not going to win a national championship. That was Vandy's national championship.
Yeah, it's not necessarily about the game Saturday, right? The moment of winning that game against the league leaders, Philadelphia. Like, that was fantastic. But Nashville SC is having a moment right now where they're on this roll of 14 unbeaten, 4 straight wins. And, I mean, you have to go back. Like, the last time Nashville SC lost a game, it was April. Literally, it was April. They're undefeated through May and June and now into July. Which is crazy because they had a loaded month of May with 9 games in all competitions. So they are having a moment, playing the way they want to play with eyes towards MLS Cup playoffs in October and obviously the big prize MLS Cup, which always takes place that first weekend of December. Biggest Nashville sports moment since what is the question that we're asking? And if we're especially to keep it to pro sports, like, because you're right, Vandy knocking off Alabama was massive.
Vandy knocking off Alabama.
But if we're to keep it to pro sports, I think I'm going back to Nashville SC. I think I'm saying biggest pro sports moment in this town since the League's Cup final. When Nashville SC met Miami and the spectacle that was at Geodis Park when Lionel Messi had just arrived in the U.S. and he's playing a final
but they lost.
In Nashville. They lost. It was a classic of a game, 13 rounds of a penalty shootout, all the way down to the goalkeepers, and they lost. But in terms of just the draw of that moment, and like the city was buzzing that week when they beat Monterrey in the semifinal. The chaos before that of Club America with fans running onto the field and just chaos throwing stuff, just that clash of cultures that was Major League Soccer and Liga MX, the Mexican League, playing out this tournament for the first time ever. It was the first time Leagues Cup was ever a thing, and it culminated with Messi madness coming to Nashville. Haven't felt that sort of buzz in this city since Titans AFC Championship or the day of the Bengals game leading up to.
The day of the Bengals game was nuts.
Yeah, you could just, there's this tangible feeling.
Oh my God, that's as excited as I've been to cover a game, certainly, because that was in the wake of COVID and hosting a home playoff game that nobody was at. Felt like less than a preseason game against the Ravens, and that was a game that they lost. And then for them to go through that season the entire time waiting for the bottom to fall out of that just wretchedly injured team.
Yeah, and finish as the 1 seed.
And they ended up pulling it off. And then, the city was obviously galvanized by the idea of people like Football Outsiders calling them the worst number 1 overall seed in the history of advanced metrics and things like that. And they may well have been, right? But that was something that people clung to and said, no, bleep you. We're going to go out there and doing it without Derek for 8 weeks, 9 weeks after the Colts game, where he had the stress fracture in his foot, him coming back. Julio had missed a bunch of time that year. Julio Jones, he was healthy for that game. AJ had missed some time throughout the course of that season. AJ Brown, AJ was ready to go for that game. That was as healthy as they had been all season long. And then,
yeah,
I mean, we don't have to relitigate what happened after.
I remember the morning of that game.
Oh man,
just feeling like you could get chills just walking through town. It was this feeling of anticipation, and we know what happened and the come down.
I've never seen a more extreme difference between the start of a day and the end. Like walking out of Nissan Stadium that day and seeing it looked like a bomb had hit Nissan Stadium, just the way that people were like pale in the face.
But since that point, it's been Nashville SC. That Leagues Cup run, where that final, I would say there has not been a sporting event to take place in Nashville that has had more eyeballs on it than that Leagues Cup final with Lionel Messi coming to Nashville.
In Nashville?
Yes.
For sure.
just globally.
And that's one, a credit to Nashville SC, but also two, a mark against what the Preds and the Titans have been.
Sure.
In that wake.
What Preds or Titans, you could say Stanley Cup final, but in terms of what that moment meant globally with Lionel Messi in America and David Beckham's team coming to Nashville, I'd put the Leagues Cup final above anything in terms of just eyeballs and attention. And then fast forward to now, and it's Nashville SC having this moment again and hoping to extend it into a serious push for an MLS Cup later on this year, while the Titans and Preds continue to flounder. And we know the upside with the Titans and the hope that's there with the Preds.
But it's
not
that's all
there.
it is.
But it's better than what you have with the Nashville
just in
Predators.
the air, right? It's not something that you can wrap your arms around just yet. Yeah, it's definitely better when you
Preds
got the
fans
Preds.
are like, all right, don't really know what we're doing, but hope it works. And with the Titans, like, you know what they're doing. Like, you see what they're doing, what they're trying to do. How good it will be, how successful it'll be, all remains to be seen. But the one team that is having its moment now is Nashville. And the best part is for Nashville fans, this is the first full year of the B.J. Callahan era. So it should excite you for what is to come with the long-term success of this club as they continue to push for their first ever trophy.
See, I would not have gone to the Leagues Cup because I think, and I don't know how many people would either, just because I don't think that soccer that's a good moment in time to make soccer, to help soccer resonate more with the local audience, to make Nashville SC resonate more with the local audience. But my brain immediately went to Derrick Henry running for 2,000 yards.
That's one seed.
I skipped
season.
the one seed, so which is probably it's the one seed. The one seed to me, leading into it, the path to get there, the path to getting home field advantage, and theoretically having an easier path to the Super Bowl. Except it obviously didn't play itself out that way. My brain immediately went to Derrick because I associate the Bengals game with the thing that broke the franchise. Right, AJ gets traded after that. Or at least broke it for now. Doesn't mean that it's not fixable, but it has felt broken since that game. Everything fell apart after that. Not just the roster, but just the state of Titans fan psyche felt like it got a jackhammer taken to it. Because of course it did. So I associate the Bengals game, even though the task of getting there was so impressive, I associate that with more bad than good because my brain immediately went to Derrick for 2,000.
It's up there.
Yeah, for sure. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in at any point. Speaking of Derrick Henry, there is Jeremy Fowler does this annual poll of league executives and coaches putting together an accumulation of the top 10 at every position. He takes feedback league-wide. They put together the sum of the votes, and they spit out a list. There is a Titans player that probably deserves more love than he's getting on that list, and we'll talk about where Tony Pollard is or isn't on the top 10 running backs list coming up next. Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. We got a tweet from Solomon out in New Mexico yesterday. It's a picture, Robert, of chicken breast sticks, hot Nashville seasoned, like those Hattie B's chicken skins, their version of pork rinds that you were eating. They have made their way out into the grocery stores of New Mexico. And I said in response to that tweet, we won't rest until there are Hattie B's products in every state of our great nation. America's hot chicken, Hattie B's.
Yes, I am interested in trying some of the breast sticks that you were describing there. I have not been able to procure those. I've only had the chicken skins. So whenever they want to send some sticks down here, I will happily eat them on camera. Gnaw on them.
Great little protein snack.
Speaking of which, I texted you two this weekend, and I don't know if you were on the beach or on the lake in your stupor and remember me sending this text, but I get my steaks from this place, steaks and chops and stuff like that from KHK Farms. I've got to stand over the Nashville Farmers Market on a regular basis, and the Andrews brothers, the Andrews family is who runs that Wagyu beef farm. And when I walked in there, he listens to the show. One of the brothers listens to the show. And he said that he enjoys the show very much and how much fun we all seem to have. He said that he works on heavy machinery during the day usually. And so you get tired of music after a while. So we are keeping people company while they do manual labor, which is always fun and humbling to know that you're spending that much of your time with us, even if we've just got you kind of hostage because you're doing whatever you're doing and you just have us on in the background. I told him that the two of you, every time I come in here with a bag of their cowboy beef jerky, that it immediately is descended upon like rabid dogs. And so at the house, there is a giant box of KHK Farms jerky and beef sticks and all manner of other stuff that they were very kind to send along. For you two in particular, I have my own stash.
All right, well, if you're listening out there, I want you to put the radio real close to your face. That's for you.
God, it felt like that was for me, and I didn't like that either.
I am noticing that said box is not here right now.
Yeah, that's upsetting. Is that your house?
It's at the house.
Okay, so you'll bring it tomorrow.
I can.
Okay, the other thing I would like to note is I don't pay attention when you text me on the weekend because you leave me voicemails like this. I quote,
"Oh, don't read that.
That is all I need from you. You are a human paper order, nothing more. Don't read too much into this. Love you, bye."
Tape recorder is what that is supposed to say. I don't know how well the AI transcription on your phone that barely works half the time.
I think you were drunk.
I was drunk, for sure.
Yes. So you call me to
I had an idea.
And I never listen to voicemails. I just read them. And when I saw that I was a human paper
Do you want me to play one of your voicemails that you leave me?
Yes, they're all incrable. I
bet they are.
It is an art form. Usually I leave it and it'll be like, leave a message after the beep. Beep. And I'll be like, oh, Buck, you've got to help me. Someone's inside my house. Please call the police.
Like, it'll just be a scream.
Or I'll, like, mess with my cats and, like, shake them up. And then when it goes beep, they'll be like,
I couldn't tell you the last time I left a voicemail.
No, because you always answer my calls.
I do. Stop everything.
I'm going to try it again.
You're going to play a Robert voicemail? Oh, my goodness.
Did that work?
No, you'll have to send it to me.
I heard it.
If you send it to me, I'll pull it.
I heard poor Winston yelling at you to stop whatever you're doing.
Paris.
Paris
is much easier to agitate.
Harassing. Because when I left you that voicemail, I noticed, I was telling you two this during the break, I noticed a message from Robbie Rose in the chat that said, "What's up, fellas? Love the show. Met Buck this weekend at a local establishment. Appreciated his kindness and generosity." Were you sure that was
me? 2 words not commonly associated.
I've been called a lot of things, but kind and generous.
You met a very nice man with a mustache.
Well, I will buy my way out of things. is how maybe that can be construed as generosity. I will pay money to not do stuff.
Here's what I assume happened. He was in your way in front of you in the bar, and you're like, "Get out of my way and I'll buy you whatever you want." That's what I assume happened.
Well, I was just more concerned that I had no recollection of this moment whatsoever, but I'm glad you had a good experience, Robbie, and kindness and generosity. Keep that energy. I appreciate that. Now, kindness and generosity associated with the rankings of the NFL
Terrible
top
transition.
10 running back list. There was not a lot of kindness.
You're trying to do a
shown
thing there, and I have to say, I have to call it out.
towards Tony Pollard. Yeah, because you've got so many A-list transitions
Right.
on your resume.
I
bud.
come from the Mickey Ryan School of Transitions.
No, there is no one but Mickey Ryan. Nobody is a more professional broadcaster when it comes to transition and teases
Yeah.
than Mickey Ryan.
The GOAT.
We need to call Mickey at some point. I haven't talked to Mickey in a while.
You didn't talk to him when he worked here.
I don't talk to anybody. But that doesn't mean I don't love Mickey. Anyway, the running backs list. Tony Pollard's not on here. He's not even an honorable mention. He had a career high in rushing last year. He played through injury. Tony Pollard is one of the few good things that this football team did last year. Relative to the list, Robert seemed to have the most issues with the list. And for what it's worth, this is an annual thing. It's Jeremy Fowler. He's one of ESPN's nationwide NFL reporters, and he surveys league executives, coaches, and scouts. They put together the rankings that they receive back from the executives, coaches, and scouts, and they put together a list as a result, and they go position by position over the next couple of weeks. Running back is the first one off the boat, and Derrick Henry is number 2, for what it's worth. Derrick's never been lower than like 3 at any point, basically, since he became Derrick Henry.
He was number 9 in last
Yeah,
year's
he was
ranking.
9 last year.
He was 9 last year?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
before
was.
he got to play with the Ravens.
That's insane.
Yeah, he's been 9, he's been 6, but yes, he was 9 in his last season as a Titan.
Okay, yeah.
After his last season.
highest ranking. So the highest ranking he was this year was 1. The lowest he was ranked this year was 6. And the last, I see the last year's ranking of 9. That's crazy. That's nonsense to me. But I guess, he's changing teams. He's 30 years old. He's a running back, whatever. Tony Pollard is nowhere on this, and Robert was nitpicking a couple of different things about this list before the show started this morning. What was the biggest issue that you took? Was it specific to Tony Pollard, or was it just names that were above Tony Pollard, not even in the top 10, but just generally in the honorable mentions?
I think it's the way that it was described as this list, because this is not the best running backs. This is the best running backs projection for 2025, which, as you noted, isn't as flashy of a headline. But, if we're listing the best running backs, then I don't care about their supporting cast. I don't care about the offensive line in front of them. I don't care about the team around them. How good are they as a running back in a vacuum? That's what I assumed the list was. But now it is projecting who will be the best running backs in the 2025 season, and that's where I have the issue, where he did not even get a vote. When people like Aaron Jones, who have durability issues, it showed up last year. When you have Breece Hall, who's never cracked 1,000 yards. When you have James Conner, who is an aging running back. You could argue that Tony Pollard has had a more successful season in the last 3 years than James Conner has. So that's my biggest issue. We are projecting people, and if that's the category you'd like to fall in, then I can agree with that. But Devon Achane, Aaron Jones, Breece Hall, Aaron Jones had a better season by statistical measures. I think he had 60 more rushing yards than Tony Pollard. The same number of touchdowns, 10 more catches, but yet Tony Pollard isn't receiving a singular vote, and DeAndre Swift is?
Yeah.
That's the tough part for me. I understand if they were going to say, well, the Titans' offensive line sucked. Well, the Titans didn't do enough. Maybe he's getting carries eaten up. But, none of those would make sense to me if that's what your argument was of Tony Pollard not receiving votes. People like David Montgomery, who has another running back in front of him, is receiving votes. But not Tony Pollard, is it? He can get one vote.
But you know what I notice about this list? And I wonder, there's no way of knowing this until more of them come out at every position. Notice how many go from the highest ranking to the lowest ranking being unranked. This seems to be
the lowest ranking of the poll that he put out there.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, I wonder if...
So, Bijan Robinson, he got some feedback where someone that Jeremy Fowler talked to, some coach, scout, executive, ranked him as the number 1 best running back in the league, and the lowest ranking he got from one of these people was unranked. That's a pretty wide range there on Bijan alone. Christian McCaffrey, highest ranking 3, lowest ranking unranked. I don't know if this is they don't really state that it's a projection. I think it's just, hey, training camp right around the corner. Here are the 10 best running backs in the NFL right now. I don't think it's necessarily here's who we think will be the fourth best running back in the NFL for the 2025 season. Just
that is
right
the
now
way
at this point in time.
That is the way that it is positioned, though, Lucas. And
where does it say that? Where does it say
execs, coaches, and scouts rank the NFL's top 10 running backs for 2025, meaning for the 2025 season? And that I take that to mean that is who they expect to be the top 10 running backs this upcoming season, not based on career resume.
I guess
headlines
so.
can be misleading.
I guess if it's a projection, you can go all over the place with that, right? You could project that, all right, I think McCaffrey has peaked and that the injuries are going to get back to piling up for him in San Francisco. You could project that James Cook's going to have a big fall off after being tied for the league lead in rushing touchdowns. You can go all sorts of ways with it. I always saw it as, right now, at this point in time, heading into the season, here's the list. But those are semantics. There are 21 names on here between the top 10 honorable mentions and those also receiving votes. That, when you put it that way, 21 running backs named and Pollard wasn't one of them, it's like, okay.
Well, yeah, but that's the Titans tax. Isn't that Ramon has called it the Titans tax before, where a player goes to the Titans and immediately they lose value because they play for a franchise that nobody cares about outside of Tennessee.
But Fowler says here, the object was to identify the best players for 2025. This is not a 5-year projection or a career achievement award.
But it's still a projection.
Who are the best players today? I would not say Christian McCaffrey is a top 5 running back today. Josh Jacobs literally led the league in rushing and then went to a better team and then had Josh Jacobs being 6 on here is ridiculous to me. James Cook tied Derrick Henry for the most touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey played 4 games last year. And you're thinking, okay, my projection is he's going to stay healthy and return to 2023 form. That's stupid. Christian McCaffrey may be one of the most overrated players in the NFL. I know that he's special when he's healthy, but how rarely... He's had moments, but that was the whole thing on him in Carolina after he got the big deal. He missed so much time after that. He's got a more versatile skill set. That's what people keep propping up. But if the skill set is not available for you to use, then what the hell does the skill set matter?
He's one of the oldest running backs on this list, too. I mean, McCaffrey, 29 years old. Henry is the oldest, which just makes it more remarkable that at the age of 31, he's being listed as number 2 on this list. But how about Alvin Kamara hanging around, too? He's at number 10. He turns 30 here in a couple weeks.
So for Pollard, I wonder how, they leaned on Tony Pollard because it was really the only thing that they could do at a reasonably high level. And I wouldn't say that they did anything at a high level last year beyond what Morgan Cox and Nick Folk are capable of doing at any given point. The Titans had to figure out something to lean into, and they weren't a terrible run blocking team. Though they still had offensive line deficiencies, and it got worse when Lloyd Cushenberry went down. They leaned on Tony Pollard heavily, so much so that even through injury, they were continuing to feed Tony Pollard. And then the concussion situation with Tajay Spears made that even more a necessity, because what are you going to do? You're going to throw Julius Chestnut out there to get 20, 30 touches a game? Probably not. That's not what you should do. Or at least that's not the ideal situation. And Pollard was a willing participant in all of it and gave it his best effort and ended up with a career year, to his credit, even if he was on a bad football team. How much is he getting dinged here, though, because he did have a career year and his team won 3 games?
Yeah.
Is Tony Pollard considered a game-changing player at the position, or was he just a product of, we have nothing else that we can do here, we have to give Tony the ball and let him figure it out?
Well, he was the Titans' best chance to have any player land on one of these top 10 lists on offense.
Oh, yeah.
Defensively, I suppose it remains Jeffrey Simmons.
Amani Hooker.
It'll be interesting to see if Amani, I don't know if Amani, I'll look up if Amani cracked an honorable mention last year.
Lucas, I'm telling you, if Jeff's on there, I think it's
He was on there, and they do defensive tackles. He was number 4 last year.
Jeff
was.
We will know tomorrow. Defensive tackles comes out tomorrow.
But, if it's a projection for the coming year, he should still be in the top 10.
I think he should be in the top 10.
He should.
Defensive tackle, not like D linemen on whatever, however.
Players,
No, specifically D tackles. He's a top 10 defensive tackle in the NFL. I feel okay about saying that.
When he's healthy, he is. The question has been of health, and they weren't stellar. He had good moments. They were fewer and further between than you would like them to be, but there is also a bunch of different reasons why that was the case. That's not simply on Jeff Simmons. But yeah, if Tony Pollard is not in the Oh, I don't know.
Amani Hooker did not make neither the top 10 nor honorable mentions nor receiving votes list of safeties last year.
And they glom Strong and Free together. There's not like a free safety list.
Yes.
Strong. See,
Yes.
okay,
Well, that
I
makes
can
sense.
understand why he would be fought off out of the top 10. Fun fact.
He
for
should
you-
at least be an honorable mention, though.
Fun fact for you guys. You guys mentioned Alvin Kamara at number 10. How many times has he rushed for 1,000 yards in his career?
Has he ever?
I bet not.
Maybe once.
He has never. He
Never?
actually had the most rushing yards in his career last season, and
Wow.
he missed 3 games.
Wow.
The final 3 games of the
How
season.
many rushing yards do you have?
950.
Wow,
It's the
he was so close.
Second most carries he has ever had.
Yeah, because his thing's always been scrimmage yards.
Always.
Well,
Yep.
and targets. You know, he's been flush with like his rookie years. The first 4 years of his career, he eclipsed 100 targets 4 times. The time he did
Yeah.
not, he had 97.
Yeah. Just consistently churns out 400 or 500-yard seasons in the receiving game.
But I think if you would ask people how many times has Kamara rushed for 1,000 yards, you'd get like, like 3,
2 or
4.
3?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
James Conner being on. And James Conner had a good year, had a really good year until I think his health faded down the stretch for a scrappy Cardinals team. But like even James Conner being on here over Pollard, I think.
Yeah, like 1,000-yard rusher last year, 8 touchdowns.
He's also a huge aspect in the passing game, too. Like, you don't have to really take him off the field, but I think the reason he's not higher on this list is because they had another rookie who did really well with the Cardinals last year.
He did have a lot more scrimmage yards.
Do we think that there is something to the idea of Tony Pollard being able to give you a different dimension, even if he doesn't have, 1,000+ rushing yards, that he can give you a little bit more of that? Because that was supposed to be kind of Tajay Spears. When Callahan talked about them last year in leading up in training camp and stuff like that, he talked about them being basically interchangeable. But
Yeah, no, it was 1A, 1B, and whatever variation. It could be game to game. We talked about it like they were on a totally even plane in terms of how they would be utilized. And it's almost like Pollard didn't really, his health didn't give us the chance to see that out. Spears. Pollard took over that role pretty early as RB1, but it just felt like Spears never even really got the opportunity to make his case. And when he did, he once again got shelved with a concussion late in the season. So if he can remain healthy going into the year, I'll be really interested to see if we actually see that come to fruition in the way that they envisioned it last year. Whereas last year, pretty quickly, Tony Pollard rose to the top of that depth chart as the guy that they were going to rely on.
Where do we think Jeff's ranked tomorrow?
Jeff,
4th.
you don't think he's unmoved?
Oh, he was 4th.
That's what he was last year.
No, they've got to ding him.
Probably
6.
6 wouldn't be a bad bet. It's anywhere between 4, 5, and 6.
6 feels safe.
Yeah.
Is Sweat? Does Sweat get votes? If it's D tackles,
No.
Sweat doesn't get a vote.
Too young, yeah.
No, I think there's also too many, like with defensive linemen, like if we're excluding edge, like if it's defensive tackles,
Yes.
they're going to include nose tackles in that as well. And like that's how he would get mentioned. But then there's Dexter Lawrence. Like there's way too many guys, Vita Vea, who would push him down the list for him to even get.
I'm just saying, like, I'm talking about, like, also receiving votes. Like, does Tavondre Sweat get
I'd be
votes
surprised.
here?
I don't know.
That would be tough.
I don't know
think
if
he
folks
did
have
enough.
caught on to, yeah.
I don't.
But
If you-
aside
if
of
you
the pick.
you knew about Tavondre Sweat
If you're
beyond
going
last
up against
year.
the Titans.
Well, sure, but like think about the guys who got drafted last year that were more impressive than he was. Braden Fisk. Like Braden Fisk is probably going to be in the top 10
Played
list.
on a more impressive defense. But
Fisk was more impressive than Tavondre Sweat was last year.
Fisk and Verse together were more impressive than
Fisk alone, Verse not even existing in this universe, was more impressive than Tavondre Sweat last year.
Okay. 615-737-1045 is the number. Last call for phone calls. If you got them, we'll update some polls coming up next. If you are somebody who works from home, you know that when your power goes down, that can be a major inconvenience. And beyond that, it can inconvenience a great many things about your life. Premier Generators is here to help you through that process, to make sure that you don't miss a beat. They're now in Nashville, the largest certified Generac dealer in Tennessee. When power outages do strike, protect your family with a top-tier generator, expertly installed by local specialists. Premier Generators dedicates itself solely to generators, offering unmatched expertise. Plus, enjoy peace of mind with an extended 10-year warranty. Don't wait for the next storm. Schedule your consultation today. Visit premiergenerators.com or call 615-439-2992. That's 615-439-2992. Be prepared and choose Premier Generators for reliable power solutions. Wrapping it up on this Monday, back from the July 4th weekend. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. 615-737-1045, last call for phone calls. If you want to get in there, I like Toby Keith Day. That was fun.
It's not bad.
No, could have done worse. ABBA road game Mondays after the Titans lose to put everybody in a better mood?
Yeah, we're not doing that.
No, we're for sure doing that.
No, okay. Yeah.
He does have control over the situation.
ABBA as in, how about another good song by Toby Keith? We can do that on Mondays.
You don't like ABBA?
I don't have any problem with ABBA at all. It's just that you like them.
It's not so much that, like, when you want to, like, I'm not going out of my way to put on like an ABBA song, but if you're in any kind of a mood and like one of their hits comes on, like that's a tough, any number of their songs, that's tough to like be in a bad mood about, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's my consensus.
I feel like if I was going to play something to pick you up, I would play this. You're gonna be the lonely one.
The Cher?
Oh, do you believe in life after love?
This also slaps.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, I know.
I can feel something inside me saying.
Isn't she still out here performing?
Yeah, didn't she have one of those Brazil concerts that attracted like 100 million people or something?
That was Lady
did she?
Gaga.
And
Lady Gaga, definitely. I mean, she might have done it too.
Lady Gaga did it after Cher, I believe.
Oh, okay.
No, I think Madonna is who you're thinking. Madonna had one with like 1 million people. Lady Gaga was like, I'll do 2.5 million.
double it.
I love her paintings.
Such a dumb joke. So Lucas brought up a topic that was adjacent, like a sidebar off of biggest Nashville sports moments since when? Within the context of Nashville SC, 14 unbeaten results. We had a conversation about that earlier, and we're just starved for something good as far as the sports scene goes in this city, and Nashville SC is delivering that as of late. Your sidebar off of that topic was what?
I saw my friend John Reed of Fox Sports Knoxville doing this as well.
Oh, we're stealing his topics then.
Yes, just best USA sports moments. What's your favorite American, not like American sports, like, oh, when the Cincinnati Reds won the, no, like Team USA, Olympics, it can be literally anything. American sports moment. What is it for you? Like, just go around the room. Mine is 2010 World Cup, Landon Donovan goal against Algeria to get out of the group stage. Go USA, Ian Dark, the call, everything. What's yours?
I told you it was going to be a bit controversial because he's a controversial figure now for a couple of different reasons, but Lance Armstrong, 7 consecutive victories at the Tour de France from 1999 to 2005. He was blood doping, so there is some performance-enhanced stuff to it, but I don't know that there was, at least as an individual athlete, I would either go Lance Armstrong.
You're telling me that you as a child, you were sitting there on your butt watching Lance Armstrong win the Tour de France on television.
No, but I just remember being proud of the,
No, it's got to be something you watched, right? Like one of those moments you remember where you were and it was your favorite, like you're going to give me something you didn't even watch.
I have to think about it, though, because I don't think there's this,
Robert, you got one? Favorite America sports moment?
Oh, probably Hulk Hogan pinning Yokozuna after Lex Luger. The Luger Express was unable. So Lex Luger was the American icon.
I mean, are there that many within our sports consciousness?
You'd be shocked, man, that we put it to a poll and there's been a great diversity of response.
But I'm talking about within our specific timeline. You're asking the three of us.
Any Olympic moment in any Olympic sport. It can be World Cup, men's or women's.
Joey Chestnut.
It could be Joey Chestnut.
Beating Kobayashi.
It could be Joey Chestnut.
He took it back from the Japanese. He ripped that dog out of their cold hands.
It absolutely counts.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time.
I think a lot of people could say last summer's basketball team, too.
Oh, Team USA
with
coming
that run.
back.
Everybody was watching that.
The run for gold. I mean, if you made me go recency bias of something that I sat down and watched all the games, it'd probably be the run for sure. 615-737-1045. Well, we don't have any more time for phone calls. If you want to get in, you can talk to Blaine and Zach after this show, of course, and then 3HL on after that. We ready for some polls?
Tighten up. Presented by Two Rivers Ford, this house most trusted Ford dealer. Who's the best NFL quarterback to never win a Super Bowl? Waste of time by you to put this on a poll. It's Dan Marino. Everybody answers as such. Who is the best running back in the NFL heading into 2025? 54.6% say Saquon. 45.4% say Derek.
It should be Saquon, but it's tough for me to not lean Derek because Saquon had the top 1% healthy season that he's never been able to have, and it resulted in a Super Bowl. He's still an excellent player. But I trust Derek to be out there for 17 games more than I do for Saquon, even though Saquon just did it.
Nashville SC's 14-game unbeaten run is the best local sports moment since when? Nashville SC Stats on Twitter says Nashville SC's Leagues Cup run. Chris says the 2020 AFC Championship game in Kansas City. He says the energy in KC leading up to the game that Saturday was amazing. I love that the first Preds responses have nothing to do with the Preds Stanley Cup run. Seth and Kyle say the Preds U2 run. Remember that? After being told they couldn't go to the U2 concert because of how poorly they were performing, they went on that insane run to rally. They were the hottest team in the league. Yeah. And, right, not this past season, but the season before.
I thought you were talking about, like a Preds minor league, like a
No. U2,
like
U2 the band.
Yeah.
Like they were told, nope, you don't get to go to the U2 concert in Vegas.
That's
and
funny.
then they turned into the hottest team in the NHL and made the playoffs.
That is kind of cool. I like that.
Denzel says Vanderbilt beating Alabama.
That's the answer.
Yes. And Karen says the Predators Stanley Cup Finals run.
No,
So,
that's been too long ago.
which holiday weekend is hardest to recover from? Thanksgiving, Memorial Day, or July 4th? Thanksgiving takes the cake, 56%. 38.2% say July 4th. Memorial Day, a distant third with 5.8%.
Thanksgiving just makes me homesick. It makes me wish I was like still around, you know?
I've just so disassociated Thanksgiving as like a holiday because it's in the middle of football season. Like it's right in the thick of football season.
Yeah, I always have to leave Birmingham very early at dawn on Sunday morning.
You know, it's just kind of like I don't really think about Thanksgiving anymore. I'll go to dinner and then I'll go to Titans practice the next day.
What is your favorite USA sports moment of all time? Eldon says either the 1999 China versus U.S. Women's World Cup win, that's the Brandy Chastain celebration, or the 4x100 free relay with Lazak, did I say that right? Coming back from behind France to keep Michael Phelps' hopes for 8 gold medals alive.
Oh, Michael Phelps.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Anything
Michael Phelps related.
Bobby says 1980, the Miracle on Ice, fantastic submission. Tyler says Rocky beating Drago. That's also a good one. Chris Butler going with Vince Carter's dunk of death in the 2000 Olympics, dunking over that 7-footer from, was it France? Was it France they were playing?
I think so.
Karen says Kerry Strug nailing the vault at the 96 Olympics. Some great submissions in here.
All right, very good.
Those are the polls.
That is the show on this Monday. Good to be back. We're with you for the rest of the week as a normal schedule. This is really the last week without any kind of meaningful football coverage because SEC Media Days with 3HL is right around the corner. Prime time tonight. We'll see you there. It's a woke league. Blah, 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 blah.
When people